9:30 on Tuesday, 24th of May, and we are here because it's the Shell annual AGM, and it's being held at the Central Methodist Hall in Westminster. I'm going to line the camera. We're here. There's going to be 2 hours of speeches, and you think to yourself, wow, that sounds good. Well, each speech only lasts about 5 minutes, and we've got some really good people lined up to give the talks. We've got someone from the Netherlands, from Friends of the Earth in the Netherlands, and I suppose they're going to talk about Shell moving to London, possibly so as they can avoid the court judgment that said they need to make their business plan in line with Paris 2015. Then we've got Carolyn Lucas MP, and really for the next 2 hours, every 5 or 10 minutes there'll be a new speaker. They'll all be very good. I've been here about 20 minutes or so. There are the usual XR banners. There is Christian Friends, Christian Climate Action. There's also Laudato Si Movement, which is the Catholic climate group. I've got some of a professional looking camera, so we need to look him in as well. Okay.
He's battling.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're battling.
So we're just waiting for the speeches to start. There is the usual XR drums. The stewards tried to close. Excuse me. The stewards tried to close the road earlier, but the police wouldn't let them do that. There's lots of security guards, as you can imagine. Shell, as you probably know, has a bit of a checkered history when it comes to the environment. And yesterday, on the...
Okay, everyone, we're going to open with a chant. When I say Shell, you say criminal. Shell! Shell! When I say climate, you say justice. Climate! Climate! When I say Shell, you say? When I say Shell, you say? We want them to hear you inside. When I say Shell, you say? Shell? Shell? When I say climate, you say? Climate! Shell! Climate! Shell! Climate! Amazing. We're going to have another chant now. Does anyone want to suggest one? I've got one that's really, really fun. It goes, O-I-L-Y. You ain't got no alibi, you're oily. You're oily. It's my favourite one. We're going to go from the top, and I want to hear everyone screaming. I want them inside to hear us. O-I-L-Y. You ain't got no alibi, you're oily. You're oily. Okay, and I'm going to make the crowd say one more time really loud. I want to hear you all scream. O-I-L-Y. You ain't got no alibi, you're oily. You're oily. When I say Shell, you say? When I say Shell, you say? When I say climate, you say? Climate? Shell? Climate? When I say justice, you say? Just keeping you on your toes. Okay, amazing. It's amazing to see so many of you out today, especially because it was raining earlier. Welcome. Obviously, we're here today because Shell decided that they wanted to relocate to the UK, and we said we're going to resist that. We're here to show them resistance. So when I say resistance, you're going to say resistance as well. Resistance? Resistance? When I say climate, you're going to say justice. Climate? Climate? When I say Shell, you're going to say criminals. Shell? Shell? Okay, amazing. We've got a bunch of amazing speakers today. We've got politicians, we've got activists, we've got campaigners, all talking about Shell, talking about their record quarterly profits, talking about all of the emissions that they are continuing to make, all of the oil and gas that they're continuing to extract. I'm not going to talk for too long because, like I said, we've got amazing speakers. But just to let everyone know that they're in there, so it's important that when we're chanting, we make as much noise as possible. And also to say that we've got XR Baroque performing for us after some of our speeches, and then we've got Melanie taking over to help us kind of commemorate and really remember the lives lost to the climate emergency. So yeah, thank you again for everyone being here today. I'm going to pass on to our first speaker, Nina from Millie Defensi. Nina can talk way better about all of the amazing work that she's done at Friends of the Earth Netherlands. So I'm going to pass it on to her. But when I say climate, you say? Justice! Okay, hands down for Nina.
Thank you. Good to see you all. 1 year ago, we celebrated. 1 year ago, something happened that only a few optimistic people deemed possible. 1 year ago, we defeated Shell in court. 1 year ago, the judge acknowledged Shell's responsibility in causing dangerous climate change and how that is a fundamental threat to lives of many people. Shell's emissions are violating human rights, and this has to stop. Shell is therefore forced by the court to drastically reduce its CO2 emissions in 2030. Unfortunately, not much has changed. Despite the court's ruling, Shell's emissions are still on the rise, acting like climate change is not an existential threat to all lives, all living things. And let me clarify. Are the $6.4 billion profit Shell made last year from oil and gas complying to the verdict? No. Are the plans to extract more oil and gas from the North Sea are complying to the verdict? No. Are Shell's so-called climate ambitions that allow for more CO2 emissions complying to the verdict? No. Shell appealed the court case, hoping to escape responsibility. And that is why we are here. We are here to tell Shell that they cannot run, they can't hide, and that together with all of you, we will fight for the right of our future. Luckily and proudly, we don't fight them alone. In our case, from Friends of the Earth Netherlands, we were joined with 17,000 co-plaintiffs, individual people that joined us. It is an honor to work for the case, to work for you, for our future, and to make a difference. To be part of a movement that is changing the system of inequality, destruction, in which Shell thrives and the planet loses. This court case was a victory for all communities that already face the deadly impacts of the climate crisis and fight for their existence. It was a victory for future generations that will live on a planet that is overexploited, polluted, and colonized by the past and future and current generation. It was a victory that brought so many people around the world hope. Hope when we needed it most. This victory demonstrates that people, we, the climate movement, can win from those with power and money. We can beat Shell on their global emissions, then we can also beat Shell on their in our fight against oil and gas extraction. We can beat them in our fight here at the Cambo and Jackdaw field, the extraction in Nigeria, South Africa, Argentina, Suriname, and all of the other places where communities resist against Shell's endless hunger for oil and gas. Our victory shows that truth defeats lies, that people defeat corporate power. We will win the appeal. And we will not rest until Shell no longer destroys the lives of all living things. Shell is holding on to a system that has no future, and we know it, they know it. As long as Shell is knowingly and willingly causes dangerous climate change, as long as Shell is threatening the lives of us and our future generations, we will be here. And dear board members inside, we will not back down. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nina. It's so amazing to hear from someone who took Shell to court and won. Super remarkable. Can we give her another round of applause? Amazing. We're going to do a bit more chanting now, just because I've got some more amazing ones, like the oily one. But we're going to start with that one because it is my favourite. So that one goes, O-I-L-Y, you ain't got no alibi, you're oily. You're oily. I don't hear it inside. I want all of them to be quaking in their boots, listening to us, telling them that what they're doing is not alright. So, O-I-L-Y, you ain't got no alibi, you're oily. You're oily. Louder. O-I-L-Y, you ain't got no alibi, you're oily. from the University of Cambridge Students' Union. Zach is the undergraduate president of the University of Cambridge Student Union and co-founder of the Jesus College Climate Justice Campaign. He is also currently working on a new campaign, Fossil-Free Research, that aims to end the toxic influence of fossil fuel industry money on climate change research. Can we all give a round of applause to Zach?
Hi everyone, thank you so much for inviting me to speak and for coming out today to stand in resistance together against Shell and the devastation that it has caused for decades and will continue to cause unless we stand up against them. And I want to start by centering what I say in one of the communities that has been worst affected by Shell. I want to talk about the Ogoni people and their struggle to resist the neo-colonial extraction of Shell in the Niger Delta, which many of you will know is an extremely oil-rich region, and as a result has been subject to wave upon wave of extraction by Shell, putting profit, as always, above the livability of the region for the people who live there. And I want to read a quote now by Chief Mike Z. Kute, who I think can summarize obviously better than I can, the exact impact of this devastation. So he says, "Our lives in Bodo depended largely on the sea and seafoods. Today, almost all seafoods have gone. We can't find them again because of the oil spill." And this has led to a level of poverty that I cannot find words to describe. He says, "How many people did we bury last week? And how many people will we bury this week? We are dying because the seas are no longer there. There's poverty in terms of food, in terms of cash, even the necessities of life. There's no water here, no water." And in response, the people in this region rose up. Many of you will know of Ken Saro-Wiwa and the resistance movement for the survival of the Ogoni people. And what was the response of Shell and the Nigerian government, who they colluded with? Well, a brutal crackdown on protesters. And some of the details I'm going to talk about are distressing because what Shell does is distressing. It includes paying paramilitaries who went on to kill 80 people in a village, torching 595 houses, and throwing bodies in a river. Paying another paramilitary group after this had happened, in full knowledge of what it would mean to secure their facilities. Amnesty International looked into these events. They found that Shell repeatedly encouraged the Nigerian military to deal with community protests, even when it knew the horrors this would lead to. And that truly includes unlawful killings, rape, torture, and the burning of villages. We need to call this what this is. This is climate colonialism. From a playbook we've seen all too often. Plunder everything, destroy everyone who resists. Shame. Shame! I want to just close by zooming out because this violence is one of the most acute examples that I wanted to highlight, but it's not. It's happening on a planetary scale on a daily basis. We've seen 1 billion people suffering under unlivable, lethal heatwave conditions in India and Pakistan, the worst flooding in 20 years in Bangladesh, all with just 1.2 degrees of heating. We know that Shell is planning to spend nearly $40 million a day over the next 8 years, 8 crucial years, on new oil and gas, with devastating effects for billions more people. So I'd like to close by bringing us back to Ken Saro-Wiwa and the movements for the survival of the Ogoni people. They fought and they resisted Shell's brutality. Today, as the stakes get higher and higher, we have to redouble our efforts to honor their legacy and do everything in our power to join together to end climate colonialism, to demand no new oil and gas, and climate reparations for the Global South now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, decree that was really, really powerful. We're just going to have one chant and then we're going to have our next speaker. The next chant is, whose future? Our future. Whose planet? Our planet. You guys get the gist. So, whose future? Our future. Whose planet? Our planet. Whose home? Our home. Whose life? Our life. Whose future? Our future. Whose planet? Our planet. Whose homes? Our homes. Whose lives? Our lives. And when I say shall, you say? Criminal. When I say climate? Justice. Climate? Justice. Climate? Justice. Amazing. So our next speaker is MP for Brighton Pavilion for 12 years. It's Caroline Lucas.
Thank you so much. It's fantastic to see you here. £7.3 billion. That's how much profit Shell made in the first 3 months of this year. The most it has ever made in a reporting quarter in its entire history. £7.3 billion. Most of us can't even imagine what that looks like. But what we can imagine is perhaps what it could be spent on if it was in public hands. It would go a long way for free public transport. It would go a long way to uprate benefits in line with inflation. It would go a long way to make a proper house-by-house home insulation program so people wouldn't be shivering and dying in their homes in the 6th richest country in the world. That is what is criminal. And sadly, we don't need to imagine the climate impacts of the activities that is generating so much profit. Because we can see that they're already happening. That the poorest countries, those least responsible, are being hardest hit with the frequent hurricanes and floods and droughts. As climate justice activist Assad Raymond says so powerfully, only a colonial mindset of political leaders in rich countries can make the brutal calculation that the interests of fossil fuel giants and their billions in profit is more important than the lives of those who are overwhelmingly black, brown and poor. And don't believe ministers when they try to tell you, yes, thank you, good on Assad Raymond. Don't believe Shell when it tries to tell you that it's investing in renewable energy. Just 12% of their money is going into renewable energy, and the rest is pumping dangerous oil and gas from places like the North Sea. In fact, they're planning to spend nearly £6.5 million a day on climate-busting investment between now and 2030. That at a time. Shame indeed. That at a time when the International Energy Agency is saying that we can afford no new oil and gas extraction if we are serious about staying below 1.5 degrees heating. And we don't need to imagine what we collectively lose if we can't keep below 1.5 degrees, because we know the devastating impact it is already having on this life-giving planet and the millions of species that we share it with. So let's be very clear and let's say it again. What Shell is doing is criminal. What Shell is doing is criminal. £7.3 billion. When the world is reeling from the implications of Russia's invasion and war in Ukraine, and millions are struggling to pay for everyday things like gas and food. But you know, Shell's profits are so huge that behind me here they're going to be talking about paying their boss £13.5 million. It is obscene, it is immoral, it is shameful, and we say no more. Yet all of this is happening because our spineless government is absolutely unprepared to regulate properly, absolutely unprepared to levy the windfall tax on those obscene profits that could begin to help millions of families that are struggling up and down our country today. And not only are they not doing that, but they're not even taxing Shell. Do you know in 2020, Shell got away with paying no tax whatsoever in this country. We are the only country in which Shell operates that is the case. Instead, Shell picked up nearly £100 million from the taxpayer in rebates. That is you and I paying Shell £100 million. So Rishi Sunak and the government are basically paying Shell for making lots of money for their shareholders and trashing this one beautiful planet. Last week in Parliament, I told the government that I thought that they should be kicking climate criminals like Shell out of Britain for good, making clear that they are not welcome to relocate their headquarters to here in London. So we're here to tell Shell the same, to stop buying Russian gas and to start paying tax, to stop dropping carbon bombs and start turning off the taps. The fossil age is over and companies like Shell are the past. So our final message today echoes the words of the courageous Shell safety consultant Caroline Dennett, who resigned yesterday. She resigned yesterday, and it's time, as she said, for no more double talk, no more extreme harm, no more extraction. Friends, burning fossil fuels sets our future on fire, and we're here to demand Shell to stop fueling that fire. Thank you for being here.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay, we're going to have one more chant, which is a really classic one and really amazing, following that amazing speech. Another world is possible. We are unstoppable. So it goes, we are unstoppable. Another world is possible. We are unstoppable. Another world is possible. We are unstoppable. Another world is possible. When I say climate, you say justice. Climate. Justice. Climate. Justice. Amazing. So our next speaker is Lauren McDonald from the Stop Cambo campaign. Lauren is going to give a speech, and then she's also going to lead us in some chanting. Yeah, go.
I'm just going to put my back down. It's getting serious. So, hello, my name is Lauren McDonald. I'm a member of the Stop Cambo campaign. First of all, I just want to draw some attention to my sign, because I think it's quite hilarious. A couple of weeks ago, I was at a Conservative Party business lunch. I was at a Tory business lunch confronting Kwasi Kwarteng about the Jackdaw gas fields, and then one of his Tory pals ripped my sign in half. And I thought this was quite symbolic about when we're faced with repression, be it from fossil fuel companies, be it from the Conservative government, we'll just patch it up and come back the next day. It's absolutely no bother. So I hope this gives you a little bit of hope. Just locking eyes with someone who was there. There you go. Anyway, as some of you might know, last year I was part of thousands of others in a successful campaign to stop the Cambo oil field, which is a proposed offshore oil field to be situated to the west of Shetland. It holds 170 million barrels of oil and would be in commission until the year 2050, the same year that the UK government is pledged to be carbon neutral, obviously. And this is a really, really horrible climate wrecking project. To put the emissions into perspective, it's the same, it's the equivalent as 18 coal-fired power plants running for a year. But we ran a pretty intense campaign against it, and so the field is owned by Shell and Siccar Point Energy. And as part of the campaign in October last year, I actually had the opportunity to confront Ben van Beurden, the CEO of Shell, in person on his role in climate violence and in expanding fossil fuels, which some of you might have seen at the time. It was pretty intense. I basically called him a murderer. But the reason that I mention this today is because I got a little bit upset standing over there. It's just the same shit over and over, watching these people come in not actually giving a fuck about the future. It's so frustrating. Too right. It's actually ridiculous. Like, how can these people have the audacity to just walk down there whilst there's so many people standing here who are just genuinely terrified about the future and who care about people? Oh, I'm getting riled up. It's such a joke. It's such a joke.
Shame on you! 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 Shame on you!
It is absolutely shameful. It's shameful. It's absolutely shameful. And I've seen that violence firsthand through the eyes of the CEO of Shell. I've looked into his eyes and I've detailed his role in climate violence, and he smirked at me and he continued on his path of violence. And that's what these people in here are going to do today. But I can assure you that they will go home and they will remember that we were here, and they will feel scared, and they will know that we will not back down in the fight for climate justice. Our fight is only getting stronger. Our fight is only getting more desperate. We do not have a choice to back down. We need to keep coming to these events. We need to not let these people go anywhere unchallenged. I am not prepared to let the UK government go anywhere unchallenged. I am not prepared to let Shell go anywhere unchallenged. And in terms of Shell, it's a personal issue for me because I've seen that violence firsthand through Ben van Beurden's eyes. I've seen the vacancy in his eyes when I detailed that role in historical violence to him. This company is genuinely evil. But I don't say that to lead you to despair, because whilst Shell has no intention of changing, we have every intention of stopping them in their tracks. And after several months of, as I said, very intense campaigning against Canberra last year, Shell decided not to go ahead with the project in December. They have since reconsidered this position, and obviously if they ever get the chance they would try and push it through. But we're not going to let them do that. It's been 5 months since the Canberra oil field was put on pause, and they've still not managed to push it through. And that is because of all of us. It's because of all of us. It's not just because of people like me who speak, who do public speaking and who do the public-facing work. It's very much because of all of us. Even if you're not directly involved in the fight against the Canberra oil field, you're involved in the climate justice movement. And this fight is the pressure, the cumulative pressure of everyone's efforts. So I want you to give yourself a massive pat on the back for where we are and where this fight is going. We're witnessing a turning point. Fossil fuel companies are not able to have their AGMs unchallenged. They're not able to push through fossil fuel projects unchallenged. Kwasi Kwarteng is not allowed to have his business lunch unchallenged. And to me, that's the most important thing, that we keep coming, we keep showing up, and we keep giving that pressure at every opportunity that we can. Because whilst they have no intention of changing, we can make the situation untenable for them to continue along their path of violence. And that is very much within our reach. We are almost there. We managed to stop a massive oil field. So I just want to finish by talking a little bit about where the Stop Canberra campaign is going and how you can get involved. So Shell is now trying to push ahead their newest climate wrecking project, the Jackdaw gas field. And this gas field is owned completely by Shell. It holds 56 million barrels of oil equivalent, which would create the emissions equivalent of the annual emissions of Ghana, or half the annual emissions of Scotland. So this project really, really needs to be stopped as well. We're actually awaiting a decision on this kind of in the next few weeks. So anything that you can do to ramp up this fight now is really, really appreciated. We're hosting a welcome call on the 1st of June. So if you're not already directly involved in the Stop Canberra campaign, it's on the 1st of June at 6 p.m. Please come along. I will actually be the one facilitating that, so I would love to see you there. Would love to see your faces there, and tell you a bit about how you can get involved, the different working groups we have, and the way that we run our campaign, what we've done so far, where we're going. And also on the Stop Canberra website, we have a bunch of online actions. You can take really quick actions like, emailing your MP, signing the petition, like sending emails to different targets. And whilst this is a very, very small part of the picture, that's something that you can do that takes 2 minutes, so you might as well. And it's a numbers game. It's about showing how many people are willing to take that 2 minutes out of their day. I'm not saying that the petition's going to deliver climate justice, but if you can rally behind these online actions as well, and then use that as a starting point for coming along to the welcome call and getting involved, and then planning events like this eventually, if you're not already involved in organising, it's very much within your reach. And I would implore all of you to push the boundaries of what you feel you're capable to do, and to push the boundaries of what you think we as a movement can do, because the fight is getting so desperate, but we still have the potential to stop so much suffering. Thank you. Just as a final note, last month the IPCC released a report saying that our window for action on the climate crisis is closing, and I'm sure those of you who heard about this report were terrified hearing that. And whilst they said that our window for action on the climate crisis is closing, what they did not say is that all is lost. So this is the most crucial point in the fight for climate justice. This is the point where we still have the potential to stop so much suffering, and that chance is slipping away from us so quickly. So if you're not already actively involved in organising events like this and organising in the climate justice movement, please do not stop at coming along to protest. Please do not stop at signing your petitions and emailing your MP, because whilst those things are really important, we need really, really engaged resistance, because our time is running out and the time to act is now. And to get you on a bit of a hopeful vibe to finish off, I'm going to finish with a little chant. I really, really want you all to believe that we can make big wins in this fight for climate justice. No matter where things go in the future, it's about what kind of person you want to be when you wake up and you get out of bed every day. And every day I want to wake up and get out of bed and choose compassion and choose to fight against this violence. So this is a chant, but also an affirmation to help you believe that we can actually do something about this. So please repeat after me, if you will. And please just try and force yourself to believe what I'm about to say. I believe.
I believe.
I believe that.
I believe that.
I believe that we.
I believe that we.
I believe that we will.
I believe that we will.
I believe that we will win.
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 Okay, once more, let's make it a really big one. Yes, I love that energy. Right. I believe that we will win.
I believe that we will win.
We will stop Shell in their tracks because we have to. We have to. I believe that we will win.
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 Thank you so much. We can do this.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lauren. What a gem. Love it. I hope we're all pumped now. We've got our next speaker, amazing climate justice activist, Tony Notion, who also works for the Sunrise Project. Can we all give a big round of applause for Tony?
Thank you. That was an amazing speech. Thank you everyone for being here. Yesterday I was reading this news. Somehow I was running away from all the news of the heat waves in India in the last few weeks that was happening. And in my head sometimes in the recent times I'm just trying to not see what's happening and just feel like a sense that, oh, maybe if we keep doing things we could stop, and at the same time not to be completely overwhelmed. Okay, is it better?
Just a bit
Okay. Okay. I was just saying that how I was running away from the news of the heat waves that was happening in India and Pakistan. I grew up in Bangladesh and I have family there like all my memory, most of my life. I've been living in Germany for the last 6 years, and for me with the whole climate it's just often so real, and it feels like trying to protect the land I grew up, but at the same time when we see all these climate impacts really playing out and not knowing how to deal with that, and at the same time sometimes in Europe when we see that we still have to come in front of Shell's AGM demanding what's completely justified. We shouldn't even have to be here. We shouldn't even have to be standing here, but we are here. And exactly, I feel the passion that Lauren was saying, like how these people are just still so fine in their suits, walking by, looking at us and doing a business as usual, where this is about lives of millions of people. It's absurd. So from that point, I think as we struggle to deal with the reality that things are already happening, we have to fight as fast as we can. And at the same time, what gives me strength, I was learning also that day before yesterday in Lagos, Nigeria, more than 40 civil society groups came together. More and more alliances are being formed. Like it was first time in the history, youth groups, human rights groups, climate justice groups, environmentalist groups came together in Nigeria, and they all came together and they did a people's AGM 2 days before Shell's AGM, and they, from their AGM, they said no to whatever environmental policy, that climate policy that Shell is going to propose, because it's clearly inconsistent with what we need at the moment. They still are expanding oil and gas projects. That's absurd. And from there, the people said no. And then when I see that, how more and more people are getting connected. So we are here, we have people from Netherlands coming here today. Shell has been driven out of there, and now they're here, and from here we are resisting Shell. So I think this is wonderful to see how more and more people, we are getting connected, we are rising up together, and we're building our alliances. That gives me lots of strength and lots of hope, and believe that we can do it. At the same time, what I see more and more, it's just not only Shell, right? Because Shell is the company, and they're behind Shell. There is so much money. Shell makes more than 300 billion. When I saw that number, I was like, how big is that number? 300 billion. And at the cost of, like, there are people in the Ogoni land still suffering. It's at the cost of people's life, and then we don't see that because all the profits that a lot of the shareholders, a lot of the people who are invested with Shell, these are, again, this big money. There is BlackRock behind Shell. They own 7.5%. There's Vanguard behind Shell. And the thing is, there's often many of our pension funds, many of our parents maybe even have account with Vanguard, because at the same time, we as humans, we don't know how to deal all of these complexities, right? So we trust these big companies, we trust these financial institutions to do the right thing, but what they do, they just keep hiding behind these complex structures, and they keep doing what we would call like the worst human rights violation of our human history. So the blood is not only on Shell's hand, the blood is in the hands of Vanguard and BlackRock and all the big institutional investors, and we want to call out on them. Like, it cannot be that we keep hiding behind these structured, complicated financial institutions. We are rising up more and more. We are seeing through all their bullshit. And this is what I want to call out on here. Like, we are here together. We will fight. We are going after everyone, and we will win. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Connie. I'm just going to steal Lauren's affirmation from earlier because I loved it, and I want us to keep chanting that and keep remembering that in our hearts. So, I believe that we can win.
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 I'm also going to ask these guys that are standing here to make space for Exa Barak, who are going to be performing for us in a couple of minutes. They just need some space to set up. I will also move. Amazing, I'm so excited. It's going to be great. And yeah, we're going to do some chanting now, but after we've had this amazing performance and we've done some chanting, we're going to have Melanie take over from MCing. Melanie Nazareth is part of Christian Climate Action and Beyond Fossil Fuels Together, who together have organised the 24-hour vigil that some of you may have seen, which is there outside Methodist Central Hall, that has been taking place overnight. So yeah, excited to have Melanie come and speak and lead us in that memorial after we have this performance. But whilst we're waiting, we're going to do some more fun chants. We're definitely going to do some oily, and we're going to do some more I Believe as well, and kind of really bring that energy because it's lovely. So I'm actually going to start with oily because it's like I said, it's my favourite. O-I-L-Y, you ain't got no alibi, you're oily. Oi, you're oily. Guys, I want them to hear us, so I need you to scream. O-I-L-Y, you ain't got no alibi, you're oily. Oi, you're oily. And again. O-I-L-Y, you ain't got no alibi, you're oily. Oi, you're oily. Amazing. It's the best one, isn't it? It's so good. so we should chant that. We are unstoppable. Another world is possible. 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 Okay, amazing. I've got some other ones up my sleeve, but I wanted to open it up and see if anyone wants to take the stage and lead a chant. It's really fun.
How about a song?
Anyone fancy it?
How about a song?
Yeah. Okay.
When London Lies Under the Ocean. Does anybody know it?
No. How long is it?
They're ready now. It's quite short.
Okay. Quite short? 30 seconds? That's what we're aiming
Maybe
for.
a minute.
Or do we
When
have
London lies under the ocean, when London lies under the sea, when London lies under the ocean, we'll take climate change seriously. No more mining for coal or for gas or for oil, no more. No more mining for gas or for oil, no more.
That was great, and a much better singing voice than I will ever have, so I'm glad that it was you singing it. Are you guys ready? Yeah, amazing. We're now going to have a performance from XR Baroque. They're international touring musicians. They're a big deal, guys. This is really exciting. And they're going to play for us, and it's going to be amazing. So without further ado...
shares.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to carry on with the meeting, if I may.
Devastate food supplies.
Can I suggest that that was an interesting start to our annual general meeting, and we have. Please, I have listened to you for 15 minutes. Would you be? Can I say that again, was an interesting start to our meeting. There are many other people who have come to this meeting to be part of our... Sir, can I ask you... So I would like to say now that I have listened patiently. I have listened patiently for 10 minutes, and I ask you to stop what you're saying now so that we can continue with the rest of the meeting, and I will invite you to come and ask questions at the right time. I've asked you once, politely, on behalf of other members here, if you would be prepared to be quiet for a while so I could continue with the meeting. I do not want to get to this, but if necessary, I will ask you to leave the meeting and so that we can continue with the rest of the annual general meeting. If that's the last of it, I do not want to ask you to be removed from the meeting, but you will give me no alternative than to do so if you do not become quiet soon. Madam, I've listened to you and your colleagues many times. Well, thank you for that. I would now like to continue with the meeting, if I may. And I'd like to thank all of you again for your support at our last general meeting in December, which enabled us to simplify our structure. Now, before we move on, as we meet today, please, can I ask you to be quiet? In time, I will answer your questions. Okay. One last time. Please, can I continue with the meeting? If you're not able to allow me to continue the meeting, I must now ask security to remove you from the meeting. I think now it has become too disruptive. And those of you who are not prepared to sit quietly should leave the meeting. I've listened to your protests and I've listened to your views, and I now ask that you either sit down and be quiet or leave the meeting, or I'll ask you to be ushered to leave the meeting. Please, you are disrupting the order of the meeting, and I think you now need to leave. We are listening to you, and I will shortly invite discussion on Resolution 20. If you want to discuss Resolution 20, there are many other... Can I say that again was an interesting start to our meeting. There are many other people who have come to this meeting to be part of our...
The people will stop you.
We will lay our bodies in front of your machines.
We will chain ourselves to your fossil fuel pipelines.
We will chain ourselves to your fossil fuel pipelines.
We will make it impossible for you to operate.
We will make it impossible for you to operate, to function, and to exist.
Your time is up.
Your time is up.
Shell
must fall.
Resolution 20, sit down and allow me to proceed with the meeting. Please, will you... We will discuss Resolution 20 at the place in the agenda, which is part of the order of meeting, which, as a shareholder, you will have read. Sir, we will hear you much better when we give you a microphone and we discuss Resolution 20. We will discuss Resolution 20 in a moment, and you can come and address yourself, and we will give you a microphone if you're prepared to comply with the order of the meeting. But we will hear you much more clearly if you address Resolution 20 at the right time. Please, sir, if this is the way you want to conduct yourself, can I ask you to leave the meeting? We will discuss Resolution 21 shortly if you allow us to continue with the meeting. We will discuss all of that shortly. Sir,
You continue to cause suffering beyond comprehension. There are no dividends from pollution.
So it is clear that none of you are prepared to allow me to continue to conduct the meeting as proceeded. And I now ask security to intervene with all those people who are stopping me running this meeting properly and have them leave. If you are not prepared to stop now, I have no option but to ask you to leave, and you will be requested to do so. I think it's...
I'd like to thank you all again for your support of our last meeting in December.
We will stop you. We will stop you. Well, we will stop you. We will stop you. Got blood on your hands, and we're gonna stand and block your oil all over the land, singing, we will stop you. We will stop you. We will stop you. We will stop you. You've got blood on your hands, we're gonna stand, block your oil all over the land. We will stop you. We will stop you. We will stop.
They're glued to each other.
I saw that, yeah.
Audio message from Sustaining the Wild Coast in South Africa. It's a recorded statement from Senagugu Zukulu from the Sustaining the Wild Coast.
Yet to be done.
Questions at the right time.
and reparation. Ecosystems now. Shell will fall.
I've asked you once politely on behalf of other members
Shell.
if you would be prepared to be quiet for a while so I can continue with the meeting. I do not want to get to this, but if necessary, I will ask you to leave the meeting and so that we can if that's the last.
Shell must fall.
Shell must fall.
Ask you to be
Shell must fall. Shell must fall.
to do so if you do not become quiet.
Shell must fall.
Shell must fall. Shell, you have been so disruptive and evil on the face of this earth. Must fall. Shell 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 must fall.
Shell, you promised to compromise with Russia.
You bought cheap Russian oil.
Nobody else would touch. That
Nobody else would touch.
You only stopped
When you were called out.
You have Ukrainian blood on your hands.
You have Ukrainian blood on your hands. You are morally bankrupt. And cannot be allowed to continue. Shell must fall.
With the shell ball.
We are listening to you, and I will not invite discussion.
Shell's energy.
Because you say not to. I will do the opposite.
Shell must fall. Shell must fall. Shell must fall. Shell must fall. Shell must fall.
the past. Your existence depends on destroying the environment.
And our existence depends on dismantling you.
And your existence depends on dismantling you.
Shell must fall.
Shell must fall. You knew the consequences of burning fossil fuels. Would destroy our environment. Living standards. Devastate food supplies. That is exactly the future that you have created. Is this what you wanted? Shell must fall. You are not only ignoring ordinary people, you are ignoring climate scientists and scientific community. You are also ignoring the United Nations. You are also ignoring international energy institutions. You are ignoring citizens all over the world. Your profits shall must fall.
You will remove the social license for fossil fuels.
We will expose you.
We know who you are. We know what you have done. And we will remember. And the Niger Delta shall must fall.
I have listened very patiently to you for half an hour. You are upsetting a number of other shareholders who would like to conduct a proper meeting where your voices will also be heard. I do apologise to those shareholders for the delay, but we believe it will take about 20 or so minutes to clear the room of those people who are not prepared to allow the meeting to go ahead. We're pausing the meeting for that, but I would ask you to remain seated as shareholders, and those online, please stay on, because we will then continue with the meeting after that.
Shame on Shell!
Your mum didn't teach you the difference. Yeah. That's what we're doing. That's what we're exercising. Freedom of speech, exactly.
Yeah, you had yours.
Yeah, exactly. So it's freedom for a limited amount of time? Is that what it is? Yeah.
Go and talk to the Ukrainians. Ask them what they would do with that oil right now. Is that what you want? Free country to fall?
I do wonder whether the oil that's produced here may be actually fueling the Ukraine crisis.
Thank you.
We will make it impossible for you to operate. To function.
And to exist.
And to exist.
Your time is up.
Your time is up.
Shell must fall.
Shell must fall.
So I would like to say now that I have listened patiently. I've listened patiently for 10 minutes, and I ask you to stop saying.
There are no dividends from pollution.
There are no dividends from pollution.
There are no profits worth having.
There are no profits worth having.
Our NHS is not here to sweep up your mess.
Our NHS is not here to sweep up your mess.
So Shell will be dismantled and Shell must fall.
Shell will be dismantled and Shell must fall.
We will come back again and again and again to make sure it happens.
We will come back again and again and again to make sure it happens.
Whether you wake up, Sir Andrew, or not.
Whether you wake up, Sir Andrew, or not.
We will not back down.
We will not back down.
And we will never go away.
We will never go away.
Shell forever.
So it is clear that none of
Shell must fall. 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 Your activities. You're sentencing them. Slow and dreadful death. You are murderers. Shell must fall. Shell.
You promised to cut ties with Russia.
You promised to cut ties with Russia.
But you bought cheap
Russian oil.
That nobody else would touch.
You only stopped
when you were called out on it.
When you were called out on it.
You have Ukrainian blood on your hands.
You have Ukrainian blood on your hands.
You are morally bankrupt.
You are morally bankrupt.
And must not be allowed to continue.
and must not be allowed to continue. Shell must fall.
If you are not prepared to stop now, I have no option
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Damage
will result in irreversible damage,
including us humans.
including us humans.
Millions of people in every part of the world
In every part of the world
are already affected. Many are dying.
Many are dying.
So I appeal to all of you. Particularly you in decision-making situations and positions. Stop kidding yourselves that you are doing no harm.
Stop kidding yourselves that you are doing no harm.
Think of your children and your families.
Think of your children and your families.
They will not escape the effects of the climate emergency.
They will not escape the effects of the climate emergency.
Every decision affects them.
Every decision affects them.
That is why your determination to continue to extract oil and gas.
You can go back to making noise in a minute, but that noise was specifically a gratitude and a thanks to those communities of resistance. I think we've pretty much come to the end of our time together to kind of tell Shell that we all care, to tell Shell that this matters, to tell Shell to stop doing what they're doing. Shell need to recognise that they need to get out of fossil fuels and start investing in renewables and start investing in communities. And I think we've given them that message today. So I'd like to give a bit of a shout out to the groups that have made this possible. The biggest thanks to Friends of the Earth, who've been instrumental in organising all of this. To Extinction Rebellion, who have supported them. You may have noticed, if you haven't, and I don't know if they're still there, that there are 2 Extinction Rebellion protesters up on the side of the building. If you haven't, go and show some appreciation for them. They're around that side if they're still there. We want to say thank you to Fossil Free London, to Stop Cam Cambo, to Tipping Point, and to Christian Climate Action. I want to end on a note of positivity. I want to encourage you all to continue to take action, to get organised, because it's only by getting organised that we can stop the corporate power.
Arrest the shareholders! Go on, arrest them! Arrest the shareholders!
Shame on Shell! Shame on Shell! Shame on Shell!
Arrest them!
Shame on Shell! Shame on Shell!
So, join the fight. If you're not already part of it, resist Jackdaw with Stop Cambo. Join Money Rebellion to campaign. Can we just have a bit of quiet for a moment? Can we just have a quiet for a moment? As I was inviting you to join these campaigns and to join Money Rebellion to campaign for the end of financing fossil fuels and support the call for the windfall tax, we have actually got an example of the action unfolding before us. I've just been handed a report that total chaos has broken out in the Shell AGM. It's reported that more than 70 people have invaded the meeting. Invaded. And brought it to a complete standstill by singing, "We will stop you." Which I think is a version of "We will rock you."
We will stop you! Stop you! 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 We will stop you! Stop you!
So, we are going to stop Shell. We're going to stop them by joining these campaigns. Maybe next year we'll be the people inside singing, "We will stop you!" Let's remember, sometimes when we're on Extinction Rebellion protests, we chant call and response, whose future, our future. Let's make that all our future. Let's say whose planet, all our planet. And whose homes, it's all our homes. It's the people whose photographs you see there. It's the people in fuel poverty. It's us. So let's try that. Whose future? Our future. Whose planet? Our planet. Whose homes? Our and whose lives? Our lives. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. If you want to stay on, you can make some more noise. There's a vigil going on over there where you can sit and in silent protest. There is still lots going on for the next, I don't know how long the AGM will take now, if they've got protesters inside. But certainly this bit of it is now over, but we'll be over there. Christian Climate Action Beyond Fossil Fuels will be over there till 1 o'clock. What do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? And what do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? When I say Shell, you say out. Shell. Shell. When I say Shell, you say out. Shell. Shell.
message for Shell employees.
A message for Shell employees.
Shell, like all other fossil fuel companies.
Shell, like all other fossil fuel companies.
You have known for over 30 years.
You have known for over 30 years.
That increasing CO2 levels.
That increasing CO2 levels.
On our amazing planet.
On our amazing planet.
Will result in irreversible damage.
Will result in irreversible damage.
Including us humans.
Including us humans.
Millions of people.
Millions of people.
In every part of the world.
In every part of the world.
Are already affected.
Are already affected.
Many are dying.
Many are dying.
So I appeal to all of you.
So I appeal to all of you.
Particularly you in decision-making situations and positions.
Particularly you in decision-making situations and positions.
Stop kidding yourselves that you are doing no harm.
Stop killing yourselves and you are doing no harm.
Think of your children and your families.
Think of your children and your families.
They will not escape the effects of the climate emergency.
They will not escape the effects of the climate emergency.
Every decision affects them.
Every decision affects them.
That is why your determination to continue to extract...
5, 6, 7, 8. Act now before it's too late. That's from the youth movement. Very nice one. Any more? Okay, to the tune of We Will Rock You. We will stop you, stop you. We will stop you, stop you. We will stop you, stop you. We will stop you, and I'll block you. We will stop you.
Your mum didn't teach you the difference. Yeah. That's what we're doing. That's what we're exercising. Freedom of speech. Exactly.
Yeah, you've had your say.
Yeah, exactly. So it's freedom for a limited amount of time. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Go and talk to the Ukrainians. Ask them what they would do without oil right now. Is that what you want? A free country to fall?
I do wonder whether the oil that's produced here may be actually fueling the Ukraine crisis.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
We will stop gonna stop you. We will stop you. Shell, you can run, but you can't hide. Fighting for our lives, you ain't gonna. We will stop you. To the verse. And Shell, you can run, but you can't hide. Fighting for our lives, you ain't gonna stop us. You got blood on your hands, but we're gonna stand and block your oil all over the land. Singing, we will murder for your profits. The science is clear.
You knew the consequences. You knew that burning fossil fuels would destroy our environment. Ruin living standards. Devastate food supplies. And create create social disasters. That is exactly the future you have created. Are you proud of yourselves? Is this what you wanted? Shell must fall.
Here.
You are not only ignoring ordinary citizens, you are ignoring climate world scientists and the scientific community. You are also ignoring the United Nations. You are also ignoring the international energy institutions. And you are ignoring desperate citizens all over the globe. Your profits will only drown us out for so long. Shell must fall.
Your profits are paying your pension.
Shell, we will.
Hello. Well, if you're just joining us, if you're just joining us, the headline news is for over an hour, the AGM of Royal Dutch Shell has been stopped through disruptive action. There's been singing, there's been chanting, but it makes you wonder what's going on. The live stream, there were some live streams inside that stopped. Shell will also be streaming their AGM if people can't attend in person. That's all stopped. We don't know what's going on. I estimate between about 20 and 30 police officers have gone inside. There'll be one or two people leaving, and the protesters outside will go right by the main door.
We are unstoppable!
Police have been going on. Police have been going in. The police have been coming in through this door. I'm guessing any protesters are asked to leave will have to come out. There, I think we can actually see inside the thing. Close the doors now. What else can I tell you? To be fair to the Sir Andrew, I can't remember his surname, who's the CEO of Shell, he did respond in quite a patient way. He must have seen the other protests had been AGMs in recent weeks, HSBC and Barclays, Standard, something. He was obviously prepared for it. He let quite a lot of singing go on for 5 or 10 minutes, and then he said the right sorts of things. But it was obvious the protesters inside wanted to carry on. I've heard there might be something along the lines of about 70 protesters inside. If I watched the live stream, I see they were singing, they sang, "We will stop you," to the words of the Queen song, "We will rock you." Then after quite a bit of singing, then we had one person in the group would read out one sentence about maybe something that Shell had done that was bad, or maybe something about how serious the climate emergency is, and then a whole chorus of people would repeat it. And then that would go on for maybe 5 or 6 lines, and after that it would end with the chant, "Shell must fall." So that went on for quite a while, and I think the protest went on longer than the protesters might have been expecting, because they had to repeat some of the words. Then the police started to go in. Well, in the end, after about half an hour, the CEO of Shell, he said, "Well, if you're going to be, half an hour is quite a long time, if you're going to be like this, we're going to have to ask you to leave." And then that's when the police started to go in. So it's now 8 minutes past 11, so it's probably like exactly an hour protest has been going on. Because the live streaming stopped, and because we're no longer getting a live feed from Shell themselves, it makes you wonder if they've stopped the meeting or whether they've decided to pause it while the people are removed. But at the moment, no one's come out. Only maybe 1 or 2 people have come out through the main door. I've been looking at them to try and decide if they're XR people who have decided to leave or whether they're all new shareholders just fed up. But at the moment, we did see some live stream of the police in there, and I saw a line of Christian Action people with their Christian Action t-shirts on. They were standing up and singing. We had Amazing Grace, which is quite a beautiful song. The Christian Action people were standing up in a long line holding hands, and the police officer was at the end of the row, looked as though he was trying to decide what to do. He was just sort of watching on. And I expect the way these things go was in the same way as the CEO spent an hour almost trying to persuade people to stop before the broadcast 40 minutes. Now the police have gone in, they'll probably have to go through all their procedures of warnings and I don't know what they do in that case, but they all have a procedure they follow. I don't know if the protesters have decided they want to stick it out to the end and get arrested and be carried out. There aren't any police vans here at the moment. Normally, before the police bring people out, they get the vans lined up ready to take them. So far, this is the main door they've been using. I don't know whether they would bring any protesters out this way if they carried them, or whether there's another side door. I got here quite early. There are 2 XR people sat above a doorway, and I wonder if that's done deliberately so that everyone has to use this doorway. Outside, we've had quite a few speeches. We had probably about an hour and 40 minutes of speeches, and we had some really good guests. We had one person from Friends of the Earth in the Netherlands, because one of the about a year ago, Royal Dutch Shell was ordered by a Dutch judge to change its business plans to make sure they were in line with the Paris 2015 recommendations. So after that, shortly afterwards, Shell decided to move its headquarters to London. Now they say it's because the Dutch government wants to charge them 15% on their dividends. The Dutch government has offered, I think, might have offered to stop that now. So anyway, the Dutch. So we had one spokesperson from Friends of the Earth in the Netherlands. Then we had a couple of talks. We had one talk from Caroline Lucas MP, Green MP, and she spoke very well. She unlike some confused middle-aged man who does XR Live, she was very good at talking. She had all her research was excellent. She spoke very eloquently and really put the message across. As an MP, I suppose she's experienced that. But the standout interview, or the standout speaker that we had today was a young woman talking about Stock Cambo and Stock Jackdaw, which are the names of 2 oil fields in the North Sea. Shell had decided not to progress them. But then with the war in Ukraine, they want to extract the oil, so they might be coming back. She's just chanting there now, which is there's a small group of people who are really rocking the
What do we want? When do we want it?
There's something very beautiful about young people. When you're old, you just expect the world to be unfair. Young people do not accept that. They have such a strong sense of right and wrong. They're so enthusiastic. It's absolutely beautiful to see that just that determination. So we've got the usual XR drums.
And the team that needs to come from the police to remove them may take a few hours. We do not plan to adjourn. We are very keen to have the debate that democratic society would like us to have around many of the issues. And so your board will remain, and we actually ask you as shareholders to stay with us in the room and online while we seek some help to manage this, so that we have an opportunity for you and me to be able to say my side of the things we want to say. Well, thank you now, but
We will remove the social license.
Why don't you go over the road to the Parliament and claim to the Commons? They make the decisions.
We know who you are. We know what you have done. We know what you have done. And we will remember. And we will remember. Agoni and the Niger Delta. Agoni and the Niger Delta. Shell must fall. Shell must fall. All of you shareholders and mobilists, you are complicit. We dream of a world
show some love to our
Must fall.
Shall must fall. We dream of a world. Where is your heart? Where is your decency? Where is your integrity?
And God be here.
God be
here. And God be here.
Last month, the IPCC released a report saying that our window for action on the climate crisis is closing. And I'm sure those of you who heard about this report were terrified hearing that. And whilst they said that our window for action on the climate crisis is closing, what they did not say is that all is lost. So this is the most crucial point in the fight for climate justice. This is the point where we still have the potential to stop so much suffering, and that chance is slipping away from us so quickly. So if you're not already actively involved in organising events like this and organising in the climate justice movement, please do not stop at coming along to protest. Please do not stop at signing your petitions and emailing your MP, because whilst those things are really important, we need really, really engaged resistance, because our time is running out and the time to act is now.
Okay.
Shell must fall! 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 Shell must fall!
Right, if you just joined us again, we're outside Shell AGM, just sorting out the microphone. But I can tell you the headline news is the Shell AGM has been disrupted to such an extent that the CEO has just announced the whole AGM is being paused for 2 hours to give the police time to remove the protesters from the AGM. And to do that, it took about an hour and a quarter before protesters went on inside the Shell AGM for an hour and a quarter before the CEO was forced to make that decision. But I guess for legal reasons, they have to have the AGM. They must have to. If they stop the AGM now, they'd probably have to schedule it another time, and it would be a lot of work, and have to give everyone a chance to attend. So we're right outside the main entrance. It's just on the right-hand side there, where the security guard is standing. That's where everyone's been going in, and it's quite possible, including the police. I estimate there's something between about 20 and 30 police officers in the release, because they've now made the decision to physically remove the protesters, and I think there might be 70 protesters inside. They're going to have to get more police officers to come. It's going to be a much bigger operation rather than a couple of police officers warning people to leave. We know this because Shell have been broadcasting their own AGM, people can't attend, but also XR has had live streamers in there. Other AGMs have stopped the live streams quite quickly, but this time it went on the live stream went on quite a while. There's more police officers arriving. I can't see any vans arriving yet, it's just one or two. Some people have been leaving. I've been trying to look at them to see if they're XR people maybe decided to leave, or where they're shareholders who have got fed up. We're outside, as you can hear. We've got some XR drums here now. We're sort of keeping there. We've had about We had about an hour and 40 minutes of speakers, including Caroline Lucas MP, who spoke very well. Her research was excellent, and she was able to sum it up very well. Also, we had a representative from Netherlands Friends of the Earth, because Shell had been told. So the Friends of the Earth person from the Netherlands, yeah, because a Dutch judge told Shell they must, because it's Royal Dutch Shell, remember, told Shell they must have a business plan that's compliant with the Paris 2015 agreement. And shortly after that decision, Shell announced it was leaving the Netherlands and moving to London. Now, Shell said it was because they were having to pay 15% tax on the dividends. Some people think it's because they wanted to avoid following the judgment of the Dutch judge. So whichever way you look at it, either they're tax avoiders or they're fugitives from justice. So we've got some more chance starting again now. I'm still trying to tidy up my microphone. So there's someone leaving there. From where I'm standing, I can see right inside the hall, and I can see the back projector that's forming the back of the presentation. So if I'm looking through, I'll see if I can be seen. It's not the first time. It's obviously not the first time Shell's been targeted this way. Okay, I'm just going to have a glass of water because my voice is just gone.
What do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Full announcement update. There'll be 80 minutes.
You are guilty, you are guilty.
So, it's not the first time Shell has been targeted for protests. At the last rebellion, which was in April, XR activists managed to get inside the Shell headquarters in London, the Shell building, and they live streamed from inside the foyer. One protester managed to get on something like the 4th floor of the Shell building and was interviewing Shell people while they were sat at their desks. I also know on the very first day of the first Extinction rebellion in April 2019, the Shell building was decorated with paint spray and had its front doors cracked as an act of civil disobedience. And I happen to have known someone who was working in the building when that happened. It was very exciting. The building was put into lockdown. There was an announcement telling them what had happened. But the first thing my friend did was phone his wife and explain to her what happened. And the first thing she said was, well, why would anybody want to do that? So then he had to explain to her, I don't know what he said exactly, but he had to explain to her Shell's somewhat mixed history in human rights and environmentalism. Especially in the Ogoni Delta in Nigeria and other places. So, well, they have teenage children, they know about climate change, young people have a strong sense of right and wrong. That must have been an interesting dinner they had that night when climate change was finally broke onto the world stage. Well, in the Shell building, there are hundreds of people who work there. They all would have either phoned their partners straight away, or when they got home would have explained. Here's a police officer, there's a sergeant standing at the door, surveying the goings on. So, Shell, as expected, with an act of civil disobedience or non-violent direct action, Shell had to make a response, and they said something along the lines of, we agree with XR, but we don't agree with their methods, which you might expect, because no one wants to have their front door broken. And ever since then, every time XR does a protest in London, the Shell management send round a circular letting people know. So every time there's a protest in London, whether it's against Shell or not, everyone in Shell is reminded of its dodgy history when it comes to protecting the planet and its so-called commitments that it's made to be carbon neutral by 2050. In 2021, Shell announced it had plans to be carbon neutral by 2050. And it said it was going to do this by a mixture of using blue hydrogen, which is where you get the hydrogen from natural gas, and it's going to develop its existing refineries to do that. Well, people have great concerns about blue hydrogen because it's quite prone to having methane leaks, especially at the drilling stage. There's some concern that the amount. Oh, hang on. So the lady said the AGM has been delayed by 2 hours. It's quite possible she was listening to the live stream, but anyway, so we're going round in circles. So blue hydrogen, and also Shell hopes that we're going to heat our homes with hydrogen and that we're going to power our cars with hydrogen because they've got a lot of natural gas. If they can process it by using steam, they can take the hydrogen out, but they would need to store the carbon somewhere. Madam, would you like to be interviewed on the live stream?
I've got a letter that I was going to give to you.
Hang on, I'm live, so you have to say yes or no. Would you like to be interviewed live on the... Okay. Well, I'll carry it. I can interview you here now. Or do you want to move away? Well, I've got here a lady who was inside the protest, so she'll be able to give us a. That's it. Lead the way. We're live. Let's not hang about. Go. Right. So I've got here someone who was inside the AGM when the disruptive action was going on. I'm glad to see you're out in one piece. So, if we can find somewhere quiet to stream from. Here we are. Let's come round there. Anyway, it's much quieter here. I had a problem with the microphone, so I've got some very basic mics. So, I've got here we have to hold the camera close to where we are. And we're just sorting out our paperwork. Everyone's very pumped up at the moment, so if you can hang on a minute, we're going to have an interview with someone who was inside the Shell AGM during the disruptive action. And if you're someone monitoring this back at base, I've taken my earphones out so I can't hear you. Right, madam, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Feng. I'm from Abingdon. Been a rebel for 2.5 years.
Like this. And can you tell us what happened inside the AGM?
It was really chaotic. As soon as that way.
It's very chaotic.
Yeah, it was really chaotic. As soon as it was opened, there was a choir who started singing, and then there was a little pause, and then after that.
So how long did it go on for?
Well, I was removed around half an hour. But it's still going on at the moment. There are rebels there who are glued on. I think I was one of the first people to be removed because I don't know why they picked on me, but the security came down quite heavily. I felt a little bit singled out. I don't know why, because there were lots of people there with phones, but I don't know why they chose me in particular.
How did they remove you? Were you carried, or did they ask you to leave?
Well, first of all, they snatched my phone off.
Your phone?
Yeah, and then they asked me to leave. So yeah, it's a bit of a shock.
Have you got your phone back now?
I do, yeah.
And how would you describe the demeanour of the security guards?
They are it's no nonsense. They're there to remove people. They're doing their job, and I completely respect that they've got a job to do. And yeah, it's hard. It must be difficult for them when they might fully back the climate crisis, but it's like a conflict of interest, really.
And they must have known it was going to happen. Did you get that impression? I saw the CEO being very patient at the beginning. It went on for, I think, probably 40 minutes, something like that. So they must have been expecting it after seeing all the other protests at AGMs this week.
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of expecting the hall to be full of security, and they did kind of dot them around. So every so often you see somebody with an earpiece in. But I really wanted to send a letter or give a letter to Yulin Go, who is the deputy chair of Shell. I don't know whether your live streamers would like me to read out the letter.
Read out the like the key parts and keep the microphone close to your mouth.
Yeah.
Because I can't
Okay.
hear anyone back at base at the moment. So
Okay. Yeah. So this is to Yulin Go. Firstly, I want to congratulate you for being a trailblazer for gender equality and diversity. I myself am Southeast Asian, and it's fantastic to see someone who I can relate to on the board of directors of Shell. However, I'm asking you to lead the way once again, to be a champion for climate justice. Please reconsider your vote against Resolution 21. You say that this resolution is not in the best interest of the company, that it is unrealistic and unachievable, but we desperately need to keep within the Paris Agreement to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees, preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius, compared to pre-industrial levels.
And what was number 21? What was
Yeah, Resolution 21 was a resolution submitted by shareholders. Shell have their own climate green transition, which is Resolution 20, and on the AGM form it said it advised all shareholders to vote against Resolution 21. It basically outlines what Shell should be doing in order to keep within the Paris targets, but Shell kind of say that it's unachievable, partly because it's going to damage their business and they're going to make less money and less profits. So I think that's the main reason why they're voting against it, and they're saying for shareholders, you're going to get less dividends from this, your shares aren't going to be worth as much, therefore vote against it, so that they really do not want this resolution to go through. But all the activists in there are voting for Resolution 21.
How many activists were left in there when you came out?
Pretty much everyone, so like 70 or 80. So I was the first person to go, I think.
And are all the activists left? Are they all glued on then? Or?
A lot of them are. Some of them are doing spicy rolls. Some are non-spicy. So yeah, they're not all glued on, but a good number are. I think there's a lot of hate and rage for Shell. Yeah. We really don't like it.
And how did the ordinary shareholders react when all this was going on?
Some were really, really cross. I was sat in front of two shareholders who were extremely angry. They kept commenting. They said, that we were like kindergarten children, or we were like aging hippies, like all those the usual comments that you get when people see climate activists, and they just like unleash their inner troll and just like.
What do you think about Shell's plans? You said they've got their own version of Paris 2015 or whatever. Can you tell us something about that and what you think about that, the plans?
Yeah, it's a lot of greenwash. I think they can do so much more, and they still want to explore from new oil, and they're still like they've invested in Russian oil when the whole world were trying to cut off Russia. So it's just greenwash. They say one thing, but they don't mean it. They don't follow through with action.
So I think Shell, although they say they're going to have some sort of form of carbon neutral by 2050, which seems to involve a lot of carbon storage and capture, they're not going to change their plans for the next 10 years. And in fact, they're going to increase the amount of natural gas that they extract. So the climate emergency is happening now. How can anyone believe it's any reasonable approach they've got?
Yeah, no, it's completely bonkers, and I've got a couple more. Yeah. So basically, Yulin Go is the deputy chair of Shell, and she is from Singapore. So I kind of wrote a very tailored, personal message to her. So the IPCC warns that Southeast Asia will bear the brunt of climate change. Like yourself, Yulin, my father was born in Singapore. He grew up in the 1940s and 50s, and the Singapore he knew was entirely different to today. He would tell me stories of spending his childhood playing in the jungle, as a Boy Scout camping on the beach and swimming in the sea. I have many relatives living in Singapore, Malaysia today, and the weather is becoming unbearable for them. They spend most of the time sheltering inside air-conditioned buildings, which, as you know, just makes it feel hotter outside. Do you want to know about the wet bulb globe temperature? Yeah. Wet wet bulb globe temperature, which is like, yeah, so with an average annual temperature of 28 degrees and an average humidity of 85%, Singapore has an average wet bulb globe temperature rating of 32. Any reading above 33 is dangerous to the human body, so you're more likely to get heat stroke.
So say that bit again. Is this what parts of the year is dangerous to live in Singapore? Say that bit again. That's really critical.
So right now it's really dangerous to live in Singapore. So I actually.
So how are people living? Can they go out in the daytime? Or
no, they have air-conditioned buildings. They don't ever step outside. They just have very sheltered lives. It's just too hot. Yesterday I checked the wet bulb globe temperature readings of Singapore because they have all these weather stations, and all 17 stations were in the black zone, with West Coast Highway having a reading of 41. Like, if 33 is like the cut-off point for when it's dangerous, and it's actually 41, that is unbelievable. It means that you cannot go out, you cannot exercise.
But that's not the wet bulb temperature 41, was it? That was the wet bulb temperature. So anyone outside would have died. So they had to stay inside, or
they can't leave. It's just,
even I'm shocked. So carry on.
Yeah, I know. It's not many people know about this. I don't know why people don't talk about Southeast Asia. But okay, so though Southeast Asia is projected to warm slightly less than the global average, sea levels are rising faster than anywhere else, and shorelines are retreating in coastal areas where 450 million people live. 19 of the 25 cities most exposed to 1 meter sea level rise are in Asia, 7 in the Philippines alone. I've read about the Singapore Sea Defence Strategy. Singapore is a really rich country. They can afford to build walls and pump out water when it comes too high.
I'll just interrupt that for a second. We've just seen 2 police officers go past with a clipboard, and normally that's when they go in to assess people who are locked on. They've just been walked, so it looks like the police are progressing in removing people. So if you carry on, madam.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. So yeah, like Singapore, they're rich enough. They can build walls. They can build up their island. But there's so many other countries in Southeast Asia which are much bigger and much poorer. So places like the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, they are just going to suffer really badly with the sea level rising. But perhaps the most worrying factor is food security. Eating is such an important part of Singaporean identity and culture. Like, everyone loves to eat. They love their food. And since 2020, Singapore street food has gained UNESCO status. So they love it so much, they've given it UNESCO status. However, Singapore imports over 90% of its food, much from neighbouring countries. But what will happen when crops start to fail from heat waves and droughts and intense bouts of rain? Which are becoming more and more frequent with the rising global temperature. And we've seen the heat waves in South Asia, which has led to India to ban wheat exports. And when countries stop exporting food, it's going to hit Singapore really hard, because they don't have the land to grow food. It's all imported. And I mean, I had one idea in the back of my mind was it's such a rich country that they're going to outbuy the food from poorer countries, and it's the poorer countries that are gonna starve. I mean, that's just a speculation. I don't know what's going to happen, but that's my kind of gut feeling. So my final plea to you, Lean, is that I beg you to think of your family in Singapore, and also think about Southeast Asian communities, because there are millions who cannot shelter from heat and who cannot protect their homes from flooding, and who cannot eat when their crops fail. I've got 2 young children, and I'm absolutely terrified for the world that they will inherit, and we need a livable planet. So I'm asking her to lead the change, because she has the power. She could really make a difference if she just stepped out of her comfort zone and think about communities.
We just interrupt. There's some chanting, which normally means people are being brought out. No, there's no news net. Okay. Right. Have you anything to say? Because you're a really good source to interview, and we can go quietly around. But I feel I ought to put my earplugs in.
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's see if we can have an update on what's happening.
Thank you so much.
So I've got my earplugs in again. I can hear if anyone wants to give me any messages. But otherwise, I'll just carry on as I am. No one else is there. Oh, here comes Interesting. Yeah. So we're carrying on with the live stream. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just about to lasso this poor lady with my cables.
We will stop you. We are stopping you. We will stop you. Shell must fall, Shell. We will stop you. And again. Shell, you can run, but you can't hide. Fighting for our lives, you ain't gonna stop us. You got blood on your hands, but we're gonna stand and block your oil all over the land, singing we will stop you. Singing we will stop you. Singing we will stop you. Singing we will.
Chat on the live stream. So you have to hold it quite close to your mouth, because shall we go a little way around the corner? Madam, you have to hold it quite close to your mouth because it's very noisy. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us what it was like inside the AGM?
I wasn't inside.
You weren't inside the AGM. Were you outside? Yeah. Can you introduce me to some of the inside people and see if they'd like to have a chat? They're all, yeah. Maybe if you introduce me, that'd be. So we'll just see if anyone would like to have a chat. Were you inside just now with the AGM?
Sorry?
Were you inside the?
Yes, we were inside.
Would you like to have a quick chat on the live stream?
Certainly, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yes.
So I saw. Were you standing up singing? What's that? What's that slave song? Sorry.
Amazing Grace.
Amazing. Was that you standing up?
Yes.
I saw you on the live stream standing up, and I saw the police officer standing at the end trying to talk to you. What happened after that?
So when the police officers came, and they were all very, very nice, we just decided to ask them what their name was, and then we all prayed for them and for them and their families.
Sorry, can you say that last bit again?
So when a police officer came towards us, and they were very polite, we asked them their name, and then we said, "Can we pray for you and your family?" So then we prayed for them and their family.
And did you leave voluntarily? Were you asked to leave? Did they threaten to carry you out, or?
No, what happened was we were there to disrupt the meeting and to call out the board of Shell, who are spending 90% of their capital on oil and gas and greenwashing and kidding the public on that they're actually doing a lot of investment in renewable. So we were there to call them out on that, and in fact the meeting had to be abandoned because there were so many protesters.
So I heard that it's been stopped for 2 hours, but you think it might actually been abandoned now?
No, it has been abandoned now.
So that's the latest news. It's been abandoned. The Shell AGM has been abandoned because of nearly 2 hours of disruptive actions inside. That looked like, we'll just watch these people leave. So these people look like they've left voluntarily.
Digress now.
How did it feel standing there? It looked like such a brave thing to do.
So because there were probably about 60 of us in the room, and that really helped have that solidarity. And then with myself and my two friends from Christian Climate Action, we stood on the chairs, and we felt as if we were in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. We must call out Shell and ExxonMobil, Total, all of the oil companies. They are kidding the public on that they are doing good. They are doing the opposite of good. They are not investing in renewables in any way that they need to keep below 1.5 degrees. They are lying to the public. It's very sad. That's why we're here.
When they announced it had been capped, they abandoned the meeting? When the CEO announced it abandoned the meeting, how did he sound? Did he sound a bit angry or stressed? Or?
No, I think he sounded resigned, because he knew that we were there for the long run and that we weren't going to leave until the meeting was abandoned. So basically a lot of the shareholders had already left, and so there were very few people who were still remaining, wanting to hear to carry on with the AGM.
So we were waiting out by the main entrance. If the shareholders left, how do they get out? Do they go out a side door?
I think they maybe went for coffee.
They went for a coffee?
Inside.
Oh, okay.
Apparently there is lunch, and it is possible that it might be resumed. I don't know. I don't know what the afternoon will hold. But we came here to speak truth to power, and to make people on the board who are human beings like us, and we hold no ill will towards them. We're Christians. We don't hate them. We just want them to wake up to the reality of the climate emergency. Because if they don't, and the people in government over here, if they don't, then humanity and the animals and creation of this planet are all going to suffer tremendously. We already are suffering. We're already there.
Let's say with XR, everything we do comes from a place of love. So Christianity and XR are so similar, aren't they?
Yeah, well, we're Extinction Rebellion. We're the Christian arm of Extinction Rebellion, but we Christians don't have the monopoly on love. There's love throughout Extinction Rebellion. Love for the people, even people we disagree with, and so it's really important that we trust that what was said today might get through to some of those shareholders and might get through to some of the people on the board.
Let's hope that works. We have to end the interview there because it's raining heavily. I've got to put the umbrella up for my kit break. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Shell must fall! Shell must
Please stop the harm. Please stop the harm. All we are saying is please stop the harm. All we are saying. All we are saying
Right, if you're just joining us, the headline news is the Shell AGM has been abandoned. It was taking place today in London at the Central Methodist Hall, I think. There were about 2 hours of disruptive action. First of all, the CEO, Sir Andrew someone, whose name I can't remember completely, he responded quite patiently at first. A bit puffed out. So, he responded patiently at first. He gave the rebels a chance to have to say their piece, and then said he wanted them to stay. They carried on. They said, well, I want you to stay, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And then after about, well, nearly 2 hours, I suppose, he asked them to leave. It was announced the meeting had been delayed for 2 hours to give the police time to clear the hall. But I think there were just too many rebels inside for the police to be able to cope with. So I think there were 70 rebels. I only saw about 20 or 30 police officers go inside. I'm just trying to wrestle with an umbrella at the moment. The 20 or 30 police officers went inside. Some activists decided to leave. They're the police officers with their clipboards, which they use before they physically remove people. It's raining quite hard now. Some rebels have left already, and we've interviewed 2 people who explained what it was like inside. I can give you a brief update because I was watching it on the live stream as it was happening. Shell were live streaming the AGM themselves for shareholders who couldn't attend, and also XR had some people inside who were live streaming. First of all, they sang "We Will Rock You." We're live on the live stream. Would you like to have a chat on the live stream? It's a bit quieter now.
No worries.
So,
Shame on Shell!
it wasn't. Shall we go around the corner, out the way? Here, you can hold the umbrella.
Oh, thank you.
So we'll go around the corner. Why don't you introduce yourself as you go around?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Reese.
Okay. And I see you a lot of protests. You're quite an experienced steward, aren't you?
I'm a steward, I'm an active support, and I also do rescue welfare.
Okay, well done. So if you hold the microphone now, sure, and I'll hold the umbrella.
No worries.
So we have to stand quite close.
Yeah, sure.
So we don't both get wet.
No worries.
So what have you been doing today, and what's your experience of the protest?
What we've been doing today's been an amazing action. Obviously, we're here to stop the AGM about the biggest culprits on the planet, Shell, and it's just to make awareness of obviously all the corruption that's going on in there and all the criminals that are inside there. Basically, the damage they're doing to the planet and how they're affecting our lives.
And so what's happened? Were you here with the speeches? And
yes, I have been. Yeah.
I saw the stewards tried to close the road to make more room, but the police didn't let that.
We were trying to make room on the street to hold on. The police were heavy-handed and tried to push us back to the footpath, but we managed to do as much as we could.
We got enough space.
Yes.
It was a really. What do you think about the atmosphere? The chanting.
It's been beautiful. The atmosphere's been amazing. The whole chanting, the whole lot, it's been lively. Everybody's happy, you know. And then we got people like this who've got no. And you got people like that who are just idiots, you know? There you go.
So, well, that's a legitimate concern, you know. With
exactly.
The war in Ukraine, we need oil, do we? What would XR's response to that be?
I mean, at the end of the day, there's more than enough oil on the planet that's been harvested and storage, yeah, to last the rest of the world for a couple of 100 years. So there is no need to drill more or, you know, do more damage to the planet like that.
Yeah, I'm just fishing the umbrella still.
No worries.
I'll think of another question. How does this protest compare to other ones? It must be one of the most successful ones in stopping an AGM. I haven't heard that happening before.
It's one of the successful ones. We have stopped, you know, we have made a few dents in the previous AGMs, but this one has been one of the most successful ones. Yes.
Did you hear many of the speeches? Was there any standout ones you thought were particularly good, or?
There were quite a few speeches. A lot of the youth, what they were saying from the heart of the answer were amazing. And I saw Caroline Lucas as well, the MP. She came down, she spoke to the people, and she said some amazing stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say before you get back to your stewarding duties? No? You're certainly the most busy rebel I've met, all your jobs. Well done. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm glad to have interviewed you that last, because I see you a lot, so thank you.
Nice.
Yeah. The energy here is absolutely incredible. It's difficult to describe.
It's no oil and gas. Oil and gas, like before we are saved. It's no oil and gas. Oil and gas, oil and gas. We are saved. We are saved. No oil and gas. Oil and gas. Oh, we are saved. Oh, we are saved. No oil and gas. No more fossil fuels. Oh, we are saved. No oil and gas. Oil and gas. Oh, we are saving. It's no oil and gas. Oil and gas. Oh, we are saving. It's no oil and gas. Last one. Oh, we are saving everything. It's no oil and gas.
Three cheers for Caroline Bennett!
Shell, you can run, but you can't hide. Fighting for our lives, you're not gonna stop us. You got blood on your hands, but we're gonna stand and block your oil all over the land. Singing, we will stop you, stop you. Singing, we will stop you. We will stop you. Gonna stop you. We will stop you. We will stop you. Gonna stop us. You got blood on your hands, but we're gonna stand and block your oil all over the land. Singing, we will stop you. Singing, we will stop you. That's right. Singing, we will stop you. So we have stopped it for 3 hours. We will stop you. One last time. Shell, you can run, but you can't hide. Fighting for our lives, you ain't gonna stop us. You got blood on your hands, but we're gonna stand and block your oil all over the land. Singing, we will stop you. We stop the heart. Oh, we are saved. We stop the heart. Oh, we are saved. Oh, we are singing. We stop the heart. Oh,
Right, we're live again with another brave rebel who's just come from inside the Shell AGM, which you've just heard has been abandoned. So, so can you tell us what it was like inside? Oh, actually, would you like to introduce yourself first and then tell us what it's like inside?
Hi, I'm April. I'm from Oxford. It was amazing inside. Person after person stood up and denounced Shell. Every time the chairman tried to speak, he was shouted down with shouts of "Shell must fall."
And how did that feel? You seem so brave, such a courageous thing to do.
I felt like I was just there to do a job, really. They needed to be told, and we told them. It was an amazing feeling.
What else can I ask you? Tell us, how do the security guards treat you and the police? Or tell us a bit more about the details of what went on.
So we started with the choir singing that fabulous rendition of "We Will Stop You." The chairman thought that might be it and started to try to start the meeting. And then one person after another stood up. They said something about Shell's environmental or human rights crimes, with the crowd around them doing a kind of repetition of each of their points to amplify their message. There were a few shareholders in the crowd who weren't too happy, who kept asking us to let the chairman speak. But most people were just a little bit bemused, I guess, even amused, I think. A few people glued on towards the end. It got very ad-lib because all our prepared statements ran out, but people were so passionate. They had things to say, and yeah.
Tell us some of the things you shouted. What messages did you want to get across to Shell?
I guess some of the things were about human rights, like in the Niger Delta. Somebody read a really moving speech about the Ogoni 9, but mostly it was about asking them how they could do this to our children. They have children too, a lot of them. Why were they not taking better care of their children's future? There's no profit on a dead planet.
So people were able to read out complete speeches, not just shout out sentences, but complete speeches.
That's right. Some people memorized quite short speeches, other people had paper, and yeah, the security was not interested in stopping us. It was quite a strange feeling, actually.
I suppose they must have seen similar actions happen at other AGMs recently and been prepared for it. So, do you think, this is a question, do you think Shell is going to change? At the moment, they must be just shocked something like this has happened. They had to abandon the AGM. Do you think they're going to change?
I don't know whether Shell has it in them to change, but I feel like the public perception of Shell must be changing, especially after the courageous actions of Caroline Dennett yesterday. People from the inside are realising it's just not okay. It's not sustainable to keep treating the planet like this.
I noticed when you were coming out and the door opened, we could see right inside the hall, so you're quite close. Could you hear any noise from the outside?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we were in, I think what you saw was us coming out like along a foyer bit. It was, yeah, there were more rooms than one in there. But...
is there anything else you'd like to say? It's an absolutely fantastic thing you've done. You must be full of energy and...
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling. It's going to take a while to come down from. I was nervous in advance of this, and actually, it's so empowering.
Did you sleep much last night?
I had to get the coach at 4, so not as much as I'd have liked to, but yeah, I slept fairly well, thanks.
Thank you so much, and well done, thank you. I'll just put my earphones in, and then I shall find another person to interview. I'm just looking for someone. I can't recognise anyone. I think they might have all gone now.
Shame on Shell! Shame on Shell! Shame on Shell!
Let's see. So we're outside what was the Shell AGM, but it's been abandoned. If you're just joining us, here's some more people coming out. Let's see if I can interview them. Madam, would you like to have a chat on the live stream? Would you like to have a chat on the XR live stream about what it was like to be inside?
Yeah.
Would you? Great. So, okay, right. It's a bit noisy. Shall we move away from the noise a bit? So, I've interviewed a couple of people. It's just astonishing what went on in there. Can you tell us something about your role and how it all went?
Yeah, it was. Thank you. Yeah, it was deeply bizarre. My heart was absolutely racing from the moment we got in there. I was just so angry and upset, and it's just this ludicrous position where it kind of turned into a bit of us and them. And I'm not sure how helpful that is. I mean, we completely blocked any business from taking place, and that was what we were trying to do. And yet, I don't know, I feel like we need to look at what have we got in common. I mean, they're like aliens to me, to be honest, the people who work for Shell, and we probably appear like aliens to them, but I just wanted to appeal to their common, like the common humanity that we have. So I talked a bit about my children and how I couldn't tell my son yesterday why I was coming here. It was just too heartbreaking. Yeah. Sorry.
So, how old is your son?
He's 8.
8 years old.
Yeah, and he's just, he's so bright and chirping. He loves wildlife, and just knowing it's all being decimated. Yeah, it's just made me so distraught. So I actually went and I had a conversation with the chairman. I went right up to the front and I spoke to all of them directly and tried to look them in the eye and appeal to them. And yeah, they've got children too. Yeah, we're all in this, and we've got to take everyone with us. Yeah, so I don't know what impact it's had.
So that's an interesting. You actually walked up to the front of the stage with all this chaos going on, and the CEO was there, and he was able to hear what you were saying.
Yeah, I had a conversation with him.
Okay. So tell us what you said to him and what he said back to you.
Well, I tried to connect with him because I felt that sort of just shouting at him he wasn't going to listen. So I tried to tell him. I asked him to think about his children, his grandchildren, for all of them, and also I don't know if they've read it, but in the latest IPCC report on chapter 9 on Africa, hidden on page 148, it's saying that maybe by 2030 up to 700 million people will be displaced as a result of water shortages, and it's just absolutely, it's so insane. I can't believe it, and I'm not sure, they probably haven't even read that. I don't know. It's just bizarre. I can't get in their mindset, but we need to have dialogue somehow. I just feel like we've reached the end of the road with like trying to have dialogue. We have to disrupt. There's no other option.
So by 2030, when there may be up to 700 million climate refugees in Africa, Shell will still not have started its promise to go to carbon neutral. It's going to stay the same business plan for 10 years. So they just have no idea, do they?
No, it's absolutely insane. I'm absolutely exhausted, to be honest. But yeah, you just do what you can, don't you? I mean, I don't know what impact it has, but you just got to keep coming out, keep doing what you can. I think disruption is just key, as well as every other approach we can take.
That's such a courageous thing to do. Your son will be so proud of you when he finds out. It's the XR live stream on YouTube, so get that to show him, and he'll be very proud of you. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, not right now, thanks. I need a strong drink, thank you.
Well done. Thank you very much. Thank you. Put my earplugs back in again. So. So, if you're just joining us, and if you can hear me above this noise, we're outside the Shell AGM. Well, it was a Shell AGM, it's been abandoned because of nearly 2 hours of disruptive action inside. We've been watching on the live stream and we've been interviewing people who were inside. It was just chaos. They started off with singing "We Will Stop You" to the words of this Queen song "We Will Rock You." Then they took it in turns. One person would speak out a sentence or maybe a couple of sentences, either accusing Shell of bad behaviour or more people coming out. More people coming out. Adam, would you like to have a chat on the XR live stream? Would you like to have a chat on the live stream? Yeah, okay. Hang on. I've got another person to interview when you're ready, and I think we might be live now. So it's a bit chaotic, as you might imagine. Madam, would you like to introduce yourself and to explain what happened inside? And you need to hold the mic quite close to your mouth because it's quite noisy.
Okay, so we were inside and we were well organised into 30 speakers and we echoed what each speaker said. And this was preceded by excellent singing and intervened by excellent singers. We are amazing singers. And basically for 1 hour and I think 40 minutes, we managed to prevent the meeting from going forward, and in the end it was abandoned. But we weren't allowed to have sandwiches, even though we are shareholders. So there was a large amount of reminding them of the blood on their hands and their current investment in further oil exploitation, and some of them just sat there smirking or looking embarrassed. But at the end of the day, there will be no shares on a dead planet. These people have lost the plot. And then when we came downstairs, recovering our bags and registering our votes, took a certain amount of time and persuasion. Morning well spent.
I love that. So you still made sure you had your shareholder rights and it's shooting. Exactly. That's well done. Wow, gosh. How did it feel being in there? It must have taken a lot of courage to do that.
I think it's probably scarier teaching a classroom full of 14-year-olds. So I've had a long career confronting large numbers of misguided people. And there were a couple of seriously misguided people in there shouting. But the people I feel sorriest about are the board members. These people are cleaning up a massive profit at the expense of people in the global south. Do they not realize? I mean, people in Indonesia are not in a position to come to an AGM like this and say, you have ruined my life. You have had me beaten up in prison. In the case of the Agoni 9, Shell had the government hang them. They were hanged, 9 of them, 26 years ago. And Shell carries right on polluting the Niger Delta. Where is the justice? We need climate justice now.
Shell must have been expecting this, because I recognise a lot of the XR faces coming out, and they must have lists of names. You know, they must have known, but they wouldn't have expected anything like this, would you? This is just astonishing, isn't it?
Well, I was just thinking at Standard Chartered, it was a couple of dozen people. So I think they were shocked to have 6 dozen or however many we were. But this will teach them not to try and hold AGMs for Shell in London. They are not welcome here.
Well done. Is there anything else you'd like to say? You've given a good...
Oh, isn't the samba, aren't the drummers amazing? How do they keep going? They've kept going for as long as we have. wonderful.
You wouldn't say that if you tried to live stream with a banging going on, but they are pretty effective, aren't they? Drums first, live stream second. So thank you.
Live streaming, brilliant and good. Well done.
Well, yes, I wouldn't say that myself, but I agree with you. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well done. Okay. So we're out. If you're just joining us, we are outside the Shell AGM, which is happening or was happening in Methodist Central Hall in Westminster. It's been abandoned after nearly 2 hours of constant disruptive action. The decision was made to abandon it. There's been there were at one time, I think there were about 70 climate activists inside. They were singing, they were chanting. Oh, look. Sir, would you like to have a chat on the XR live stream? Would you like to have a chat on the XR live stream?
I can do. I'm not very knowledgeable about
No. Well, I've interviewed lots of women, and the XR live stream is an equal opportunity stream, so I hope to interview a man, really. So, so if you stand with the crowd behind you, so it looks more impressive. Right. Would you like to introduce yourself, and then tell me what happened inside? And you need to hold the mic quite close to your mouth.
There's just a little bit of background noise.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm Anthony Whitehouse from Yorkshire, and I've been with XR for quite a while doing this and that and the other. Inside, we've totally disrupted the Shell AGM, I'm afraid. Well, I'm so glad to say, to be honest, but we've made a very strong point to the board of members of Shell, and well, what more can we say? They've heard it, but they're still 40 years on, not really making the move that they need to make.
Can you remember any? Because there's lots of chanting, wasn't there? People chanted, and then you ended with "Shell must fall." I saw that. But can you remember any of the messages that people were chanting?
The messages are basically on the lines of climate catastrophe that they're causing, and the human rights issues that they're inflicting. Bit closer, yeah. Sorry, the climate catastrophe issues that they are causing, the human rights issues of third world people being not only having their resources taken away from them, but also they're having the climate issues thrust upon them, and many more things which I'm not going to have time to go into.
And oh, here comes some more people. Have you got any particular reason why you came today? Is anything particularly personal to you?
There is no particular personal reason for me, apart from the fact I've got grandchildren, and I am absolutely scared about the potential for destruction of our planet. So yes, it's just an ongoing struggle. We need system change.
Well done for doing it and for being so committed to XR for so long. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, good luck. Right, I'll put my earphones back in. Maybe I'll find another person to interview.
There are many other people who have come to this meeting to be part of our...
Shell, the people will stop you! We will lay our bodies in front of your machines! We will chain ourselves to your fossil fuel pipelines! We will make it impossible for you to operate, to function, and to exist. Your time is up. Shell must fall. We will stop you. Well, we will stop you. We will stop you. Got blood on your hands, and we're gonna stand and block your oil all over the land, singing, we will stop you.
Right, we've got here another brave rebel who's just come from inside. We've been watching it on the outside. Madam, would you like to introduce yourself and explain what happened inside?
So we went inside.
Oh, hang on.
So we went in. We all had shares or proxies. We joined the meeting, and as soon as the meeting began, a choir interrupted it, singing "We will stop you," and then we had testimonials to read out, and we were saying things to them like, your just transition is a joke. Remember the Agoni 9. You're destroying our planet. You're wrecking our kids' future. We talked about how they promised to cut ties with Russia, but have profited from Russia and have Ukrainian blood on their hands. And just over the course of about an hour or two, just were constantly chanting, singing, saying testimonials, and they couldn't continue the meeting.
How long did you expect the disruption to go on for? Because did you think it would go on for so long?
No, I didn't know how long it would go on for, but I thought as soon as someone stood up and spoke and revealed themselves as a protester, I thought they would be bundled out. But actually they didn't seem to have any security or any options for getting us out. So everyone was just allowed to stay in. So we were able to carry on for about, nearly 2 hours, or maybe it was 2 hours.
What was the security like inside? Was it were people searched going in? Were there metal detectors?
You had to leave your bag in the cloakroom, so that was a bit annoying. And you had to have like a wand search you, and you had to have ID.
How did you decide to come out? Are they going to carry people out, or what happened at the end when you left? What did the police say to you?
Well, I was one of the last to leave. We were threatened with aggravated trespass, basically. We were threatened with aggravated trespass.
And then you decided, let's see what's happening here. I can't see what's happening now. I've glued the door, but I can't really see. So if you're watching the camera, you'll have a better view than me. So the police are there, security guards are there. Everyone's famous, lots of people are filming. So it's a mature woman. She sat in the doorway. I'm guessing she must have glued on. It's so noisy, I can't really hear if anyone says anything to me, but I shall just keep going. So, if you're just joining us, we're at the Shell AGM. It's been abandoned after 2 hours of disruptive action. There was So the police officer, there's a woman who seems to have glued herself onto the door. She just came out. The police officer's speaking to her now. This is next level activism. 2 hours. Shell abandon the AGM, and then you glue yourself on. Security guards coming out. There's been a constant stream of activists or protesters coming out. The police are threatening them with aggravated trespass if they don't move. I've heard that some people are actually glued on inside the building. and that's going to take. I've seen the police officers going in and out with clipboards, and the police don't have clipboards when they're planning to remove people or unglue them. So there's still people coming out. Someone's lost a bag. This is the bizarre nature of it. People are thrown out, but then they're allowed to collect their bag and cast their vote as a shareholder's right, even though they've been thrown out of the meeting. More police coming out. You have to remember, not everyone in there is an activist, so you need to be a bit careful. Let's try and get a bit closer. We've been live streaming the goings on and also been interviewing people as they come out. There's the most fantastic sense of energy, you know, a successful action. I've never heard of any action like this before, where for 2 hours, looks like they're closing this door now, are they? Maybe. For 2 hours there was singing and chanting, and in the middle of this chaos, some people report they were able to walk to the front of the auditorium to the stage where the chief executive of Shell Oil, Royal Dutch Shell, was standing, and they were able to have a conversation with them. So it's a very British sort of protest, isn't it? General chaos, and then you can have a constructive chat with the top guy in the company. So another person coming out. I think I'll walk round more people. I think I'll walk round the crowd a bit and see what's going on. More police arriving. Hang on, I can hear you now. Right, I'm walking around the crowd to see if I can find maybe someone to have another chat with. It's quite noisy with the drums. So maybe I can walk across the road and just have a chat with someone, just at random, rather than somebody who's inside.
It's yet to be done.
Questions at the right time.
Ecosystems now. Shell will fall.
I've asked you once politely on behalf of other members
Shell.
if you would be prepared to be quiet for a while so I can continue with the meeting. I do not want to get to this, but if necessary, I will ask you to leave the meeting and so we can continue. If that's the last.
Shell must fall.
Shell must fall.
Shell must fall. Shell must fall. Shell must fall.
Shell must fall. Shell, you have been so disruptive and evil on the face of this earth. Must fall. Shell 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 must fall. Shell,
you promised to compromise with Russia.
you bought cheap Russian oil.
Right, we're here outside the Shell AGM, which has just been abandoned if you're just joining us. We've got here, I always say this, he needs no introduction, he's the expert singer, which inside must have been quite a useful skill. So tell us what happened inside, especially like the singing part of it and your role in that.
Yeah, happy to. Hello, everyone. This close is good. Yeah, so I just came out a few minutes ago from the Shell AGM here, and it was very, very exciting. My heart was beating like mad before we first started. I was actually the first one to disrupt, so I took the tempo, and my friend gave me the note, and then we started singing. I started singing by myself the verse for this reworded version of Queen's "We Will Rock You" to sing "We Will Stop You." Everyone knew it, and it was very powerful. So we joined in. First, it was just a couple of us singing, but then the whole group stood up and did the stomp, stomp, clap. You know, stomp, stomp, clap. It felt the acoustics were really great in there, so it felt like the whole room was singing basically. And initially, we expected to sing it 3 times around, and then probably get escorted out with the security, you know, having a problem with us being there, but that didn't happen. So I was like, let's keep going, and another one. And so we sang it about 5 times through, just to make sure, you know, to be nice and disruptive, but to also give the amazing people that had prepared speeches a chance. So that's what happened next. We finished the song, we sat down, and we're really surprised to see that no one was dragged about and manhandled and nothing. So it went on to individuals standing up, saying a few words, and everyone, including us singers in the middle, we were sitting very centrally, we were able to repeat back the things that the people were saying, you know, a few words, people's microphone. And that was really powerful because all the CEOs and board members were sitting, about 10 or 12 people on these high up positions. You know how it is with these weird institutions and this AGM. So they had to listen again and again. They tried to sort of, you know, disrupt our disruption, but mostly they just kept quiet, and we really felt they were taking in what we said, and we kept going. And they thought, okay, they're probably going to stop soon. They're probably going to go get out and do something else. But then another song erupted, and another chant erupted, and another speaker erupted, and we just kept passing it back between us, which was a very nice, you know, changing mood and energy, and it didn't get boring for anyone. And then there were some members of some actual shareholders that were trying to say, oh, let Shell speak, let them respond, you know, and things like that. And we're like, no, we've listened for 30 years, for 40 years, and watched Shell, and all they do is greenwash, and all they do is lie, and all they do is continue the destruction of this planet. So we must speak out now. And it was really powerful. We just kept going, and in the end, they had to completely cancel the meeting. Everyone was sent out of the room, including the board, and that felt like a real victory.
And that's something that might not be obvious being out here, but the board members are really close to the crowds. There's no escape, is there? They're right there, and people would actually walk to them. So you could you see like the expression on their faces?
Oh yeah, very, very much. They were right there. The room was much smaller than we expected, to be honest. So we were sitting, you know, one person next to one another, and yeah, they could very clearly hear us. We could obviously see them very well, and their responses. And as I said, it really felt like they were listening to what we had to say. Some people even looked sad for a while. A few went out and left at times, and then they came back. So yeah, it was a very close-up encounter, and I felt, when am I ever going to be able to speak my piece, speak my truth to some of the worst climate criminals and, you know, murderers, practically, that close up ever again. So that felt really powerful to have that chance.
Shell are going to have to respond to this, aren't they? The City of London will be watching. They have to reschedule the AGM. What's going to happen next time there's an AGM? You know, how are they going to respond? Because they're going to have to explain. Oh, it's gone quiet. They're going to have to explain why there are so many protesters here. You know, there've been all sorts of accusations. There'll be a press release. Yeah. They're going to have to respond to that, aren't they? What on earth can they do?
Exactly. They have very little to actually, you know, come back to us with, and I think they were trying to reduce the impact to their public image by doing, you know, similar to what Lloyd's did when Lloyd's was taken over in the last rebellion in April. They, you know, escorted everyone friendly, didn't make any arrests, and so they let us do our thing until it was all over, gave us back all our belongings, and escorted us out. And now somebody's actually managed to glue on, I believe, right there at the steps, which is of course really exciting, because that means they can't ignore them. They can't just go on and just say, oh, you just go away and we'll, you know, pretend you didn't happen. But I think it'll probably mean an arrest, which means more media coverage again, and really shining the light on the terrors and horrible practices of Shell.
So when you left, how many people were inside? And have you got an idea of how many were glued on, or were going to stick out to the right to the end?
Yeah, well, we all stayed sitting. Very much sort of, there was like maybe 20 minutes before the final end, where they had to cancel it all. They sort of asked all their members to get up and leave, and a lot of people did. They probably funneled a bunch of them downstairs in a different room, which is fair enough. But basically, a lot of us protesters and some members of the public stayed and kept sitting there until all of the board members said, okay, we can't go on like this anymore. And then at the end, we just started a song, what you can hear now, all we are singing, please stop the harm. And then later we sang, please stop, no new oil and gas, something like that, to really get our message across. And yeah, so we all left. We very slowly walked down while singing these sort of turning staircases, overlooking the inside of the hall, and we got our stuff back, and so we managed to come out now.
I like that aspect of it. You get your stuff back. Some people said they still managed to cast their vote after leaving, got their stuff back. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, if you're watching this and you're thinking, what, that sounds good, it's a good means to take action, then please join us, because the crisis is unfolding faster and faster. Climate tipping points are being reached and breached, and yet we haven't slowed down the emissions, we haven't slowed down the destruction of this planet, and that's really risky. So we're celebrating this win today, but of course Shell's practices and destruction keep going, so it's not the end yet. Shell hasn't fallen yet, but Shell must fall. So please join us if you at all are able to, and get involved in whichever capacity, wherever you are. There's a group that you can get involved with. Thank you.
So definitely, there's going to be another rebellion in September. We want lots of people on the streets. I have to thank Marcus. It's all about self-sacrifice, NVDA, but you've had to wear shoes today, and I know you don't really like wearing shoes, so it's a hardship. The things you do to save the world. So thank you so much. Well done for starting the singing. Well done. Thank you. Okay. Right, now... Well, if you're just joining us, we're outside the Shell AGM. There's been pretty much 2 hours of destructive singing and chanting. Some people, well, the AGM has sort of come to a bit of a stop, possibly temporarily. People have been leaving. I've just been chatting to someone who said they were there for 2 hours of chanting. In the end, the board members asked the ordinary shareholders, the ones who weren't there to protest, they asked them to leave, and so then that left the activist shareholders left. The activists were a bit surprised at how long the protest went on for. They ran out of songs to sing, so they had to start singing them again. I think one of the reasons Shell had trouble removing them was because there were so many of them. Shell have probably seen the the disruptive actions at other AGMs, at banks and things like that. And they probably had in mind there might be a small handful of people and that they would probably leave when asked to, or a small number of people might decide to stay. And so they wouldn't be able to, they would have to be asked to leave and possibly carried out by the police or the security guards. But today, I think some people have said there's something like 70 protesters inside. So I think that was a bit of a shock for Shell. And they didn't, talking to the people who came out, they didn't seem to have enough security guards to remove them. There's some beautiful singing going on.
Hold you in our love, hold you in our circle, hold you.
Excuse me, if you, excuse me, excuse me, we will have to ask you to be removed now, please, so that we can continue with the meeting. No, I'm sorry, you're interrupting with the format of this meeting, and I would ask you to stop, and I will answer your questions in time. Shall I try one more time? Okay. Well, that's much appreciated, but I must say it's me to thank you and for your support of the company. Thank you.
So, if you're just joining us, we're outside the AGM of the Royal Dutch Shell in London, in Methodist Central Hall in Westminster. It's been disrupted by 2 hours of singing, of chanting. There were 70 activists inside. We seem to have taken the security people by surprise. Sir Andrew Mackenzie, a CEO of Shell, responded quite professionally. He must have known something like this was going to happen. You know, he let them have a sing-song. He said, "I've listened to you, can you listen to me now?" The protesters weren't prepared to go down that line. So for 2 hours, they sang, they chanted. It was live streamed. Also, Shell were live streaming it for their shareholders. We're not sure what's going on now, which is an unusual situation for me. So there's a lady glued on at the door. She'd been inside. On the way out, she glued herself on at the door. If I hold the camera up, you might be able to see somewhere by the door there, where the police officers are. There's a lady glued on. I can't see more than that. I think a lot of the protesters must have come out now. But there's still a lot of people waiting here. We don't know what's going to happen with the AGM. One person thought it was cancelled, but to do that, they'd have to reschedule it again. There'd be all sorts of legal consequences for, legal announcements and how all that works. So I'm guessing if they could, they might want to carry on with the AGM. Although a lot of the people have left. In fact, at one stage, one of the protesters told me at one stage, the Shell board asked the ordinary shareholders to leave. So I don't know how that would carry on if the shareholders aren't there, if they'd be able to carry on the meeting.
There was an update just now, actually. Did you hear?
Would you like to have a chat on the live stream and give me your update? or you can give me you can give me the update off stream.
I can quickly jump in. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
update is that the meeting.
Okay. If you
do, I need to speak into this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that all right?
Are you okay being on camera?
Quick, yeah.
Very
Very
quick.
quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So the update.
what's your source of information?
Yes, so the protesters outside have just announced that the meeting has in fact continued in another room, but it is being disrupted again. Which is quite hilarious, I think, because they probably thought they weeded everyone out, but it is just showing that we will block you, Shell. Thank you.
So how can they carry on with the AGM if all the shareholders are left? How are they going to have a vote?
That's an exciting question, and I think we are keen to find out. The meeting does take place online as well. Voting is possible online, and that's what they've been doing for the last 2 years, to be honest. So it's interesting to see how in the future this model AGM will be able to continue.
Yes. Well, if they cancel it, they'd have to have another one, and then we'll be down the same road again, won't we? So.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that Shell is legally obliged as a shareholder company to have this AGM. So by blocking this AGM, it is interesting to see whether that will have any consequences on their business model in the long run. And I think, to be honest, it's time for a change of the business model, because shareholders are here for short-term profit, not for sustainable livelihoods.
Well, how do you think Shell will respond? They have to change, you know, they have made announcements they're going to be carbon neutral by 2050, but they're still going to carry on for the next 10 years just the same. So will they change now?
Yeah, it's quite hilarious, actually. New numbers are saying that if Shell continues their business plans, well, basically, there's the calculation that there's a certain carbon budget up until 2030 that we cannot exceed if we want to stay below 1.5 degrees. Point being that if Shell continues business as usual, they will take up 1.6% of the worldwide carbon budget. It's impossible. It's factually impossible.
So, I'd love to know what's going on in this other room where the disruption's still carrying on. Have you got any news about that? No, you don't. Well, thank you very much. That's really good information. So, we've got an update as it starts to rain. It's, try and put my earplug back in. So, the AGM isn't cancelled, it's carrying on in another room. And I think it might be significant that people who are leaving the meeting, including those who are protesting, were allowed to vote. There's a lady fallen over. So there's the lady who's glued on, I think. Oh, this lady's been arrested, so I'll just protect her privacy. So one person's been arrested and they're being led away. I can film it from behind, I think. That'll be okay. Respect her privacy. Looks like she'll be searched now. She's actually wearing handcuffs, which is quite unusual for an exile protest. The police officer is searching her bag now. It's raining again, so I've got the umbrella out. So it looks like these are probably the last people to come out. And that's, I wonder, maybe she's one of the people who are glued on and the police have been working on. But I wonder if it's significant that the shareholders are allowed to vote on the way out. Even if you're a protester, they still let you vote. So maybe that's a legal way that they won't have to hold the AGM again. They can say everyone had a chance to vote, and maybe they're hoping that's a way around it. Very concerned about this lady lying on the ground. She's got two police officers looking after her. Everyone's hiding from the rain now. It's absolutely torrenting down. I've got the umbrella out, so to protect. So we should carry on streaming. Just like that. I won't film the lady who's fallen down. There's police officers coming. Looks like they come to help the lady. What else can I tell you? There's still a hard core of protesters left. They're doing well. We've been here quite a long time. It's now coming up to 1 o'clock. So this has been going on for well, there've been people outside chanting for 4 hours. Plus, there've been 3 hours of chanting indoors. And according to my source, there's still disruptive. Well, according to my source, that Shell moved the AGM to another room in an attempt to try and keep it going. But then there were still activists in that crowd, and they carried on disrupting it. So it really is next level activism, isn't it? Everyone's hiding in the doorways now because of the rain. Let's see, let's walk round. There's a police van there, so that looks like they're black, and there's another police van there.
AW296! AW4608! AW296! AW296! AW4608! Take the cuffs off! Take the cuffs off! She's not a criminal! The criminals are inside! The criminals are the ones you're protecting! Take the cuffs off! Take the cuffs off! Shame on you! Shame on you! Take the cuffs off! That's the head! It gets raining! These criminals are She is not a criminal!
I'm not a police officer, sorry.
Take the cuffs off, please!
They're probably waiting for
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Take those cuffs off! She's not a criminal! Take the cuffs off! Please take the cuffs off! Not a criminal! Take the cuffs off!
Did you manage to get?
I think the lady was lying on the ground and has now gone back into the doorway. I think that's the lady I interviewed a few minutes ago. She was very emotional. She said when she was saying the protesters were chanting and they were accusing Shell of all sorts of things, she said when she was doing that, she was thinking of her 8-year-old son, and she told me, she was almost in tears. I've got an umbrella up in a rainstorm, so that lady there, she's been inside, she came out, she gave an interview. I think she might have jumped across the fence, or the barrier, which is why she's sort of lying on the ground, because the police must have stopped her straight away. In the torrent of rain that's coming down now, the police have let her get into the doorway to keep dry, because she was lying in the rain and getting quite wet. The police are shouting to each other. There's a police officer going to the van to do something. So, there's a small crowd left. As far as we're aware, the Shell AGM, it was disrupted for 2 or 3 hours. Some people thought it had been abandoned, but I've spoken to someone who thinks it's still going on in another room. And despite them moving to another room, despite removing all who they thought were activists, there are still people in the new room that are causing disruption. We haven't got any streaming footage of that. We had live stream from at first. After 2 hours of disruptive singing and chanting, the protesters ran out of words, so they had to ad-lib, and will say the same words again. The thing that caught Shell off guard, were at their AGM, was I don't think they realised how many protesters there'd be. They must have been expecting some disruptive action, and in fact the CEO Sir Andrew Mackenzie. He reacted quite well. He'd been, he obviously knew what to expect in the UK. It took about 20 minutes of this before he asked people to leave. But all the same, I don't think Shell anticipated the size of the protest. I think there was something like 70 protesters inside that were singing. There's a police lady there talking to the two women at the centre of the step. It's heavy rain. That poor police lady's getting absolutely drenched. She hasn't got her coat. Security guard watching on. We've been outside for 4 hours chanting and singing. Everyone's fine. The drums are here, which I realise the drums are very good to make an impact. But they do make it a bit difficult to live stream. So the lady's being searched. It's absolutely astonishing the courage some people have to be in there, to come out and then go back in again. Well done. She's not wearing handcuffs, she's been taken to a van, which I think she'll like. It's very cold and wet now, especially if your clothes completely drenched. So we've got one protester left glued on at the door. Police officers checking her bag. There were some police officers who looked like they were trained in removing protesters in these situations. They had a clipboard and they were making notes. I can't see them now, I think they might be inside. Which makes you wonder if there are still climate activists inside. Absolutely astonishing.
Yes, so that's what, however, you carry that information inside of you. How else can you respond? What do we do? Block a fire exit.
Yes.
So we're going to block a fire exit. So what kind of fire have we got coming to us?
Yeah.
What kind of rain have we got coming to us?
Yeah. The police officer's talking to her quite gently. He's being, are you okay, madam? Are you okay? Really well. Yes. Okay, I'll relay that back. So the lady said she only feels alive when she's doing activism. Yeah. She'd like to speak to Ben Van Werden, the chairman of Shell. Okay. So you're saying Shell doesn't let people get arrested because they want to avoid a court case, I suppose. They don't want to stand up in court and justify their history. Well, they've already lost one case with the Shell 7, so they must realise the public do not have sympathy for them.
That's what they did, and we wanted, after 13 years of campaigning, completely legally, after all those years, after watching that film, we decided to use our creativity to respond to the IGCC report. And so we used chalk paint and fake oil, and we broke the windows because we wanted to break the situation that we're in, to break the harm, to break the cycle of harm
Yes.
that Shell are involved in.
Yeah. So
they have a product, and that product is like a
Okay, I'll relay that back. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll relay. Yeah. Yeah.
And they know it's killing us.
Yes.
Really, who I want to talk to is the shareholders. They are part of the circle.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like
Okay, I'll relay. Yep.
back, then the whole system will fall.
Yeah. So I'll relay that back. So you're only here today because after 30 years of being ignored and Shell carrying on doing the same thing and doing such a have such a dangerous product that you feel you have no other choice really. You know, what else can you do? Yeah.
And the thing is that we did break the windows of the Shell.
Yeah.
And that when we broke them, they didn't take us. But when we went to court, we were acquitted because
We are the. Yeah. So this lady says she's innocent, and I agree. I'll be your barrister. You're innocent. So, okay, it's very loud with the drums. So basically, thank you very much. Thank you very well. Thank you for what you're doing as well. Thank you. So what the lady says was, in this situation, Shell doesn't want people to be arrested, and even the first time that when they were targeted, and I'll just move away from the drums. The first time the Shell was targeted, when the first day of the first rebellion, and the front door was broken, the windows were broken, and the front of the Shell building was painted. Even then, Shell did not want the police to do anything. You know, they're so keen to avoid public scrutiny. They do not want to stand up in court and justify the things they've been doing. And that one time, when the Crown Prosecution Service insisted that people were prosecuted for damaging the building, they lost, and they realised, Shell realises, wherever it says publicly, Shell seems to realise that it doesn't have the public support, and it's maybe not 100% proud of its past actions, and possibly not proud of its current plans to cut CO2 emissions, knowing that for the next 10 years their business plans will not change. So I'm going to put my earphones back in again now because it's noisy. I can see if anyone's talking to me.
Comprehension. There are no dividends from pollution.
There are no dividends from pollution.
There are no profits worth having.
There are no profits worth having.
Our NHS is not here to sweep up your mess.
Our NHS is not here to sweep up your mess.
So Shell will be dismantled and Shell must fall.
Shell will be dismantled and Shell must fall.
We will come back again and again and again to make sure it happens.
We will come back again and again and again to make sure it happens.
Whether you wake up, Sir Andrew, or not.
Whether you wake up, Sir Andrew, or not.
We will not back down.
We will not back down.
And we will never go away.
We will never go away.
Shell must fall!
Shell must fall! Shell must fall! Shell must fall! Shell must fall!
I can't
They're sentencing them. Slow and dreadful death.
You are murderers. Shell must fall. Shell.
You promised to cut ties with Russia. But you bought cheap Russian oil. That nobody else would touch. You only stopped when you were called out on it. You have Ukrainian blood on your hands. You are morally bankrupt. And must not be allowed to continue. Shell must fall.
If you are not prepared to stop now, I have no option.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Well, we're back outside the Shell building, the building where the Shell AGM is taking place. The live stream's coming to an end now, so I'm going to give you a rough update of what's happened, and then we've got the most remarkable video and the most remarkable story to finish on, so make sure you hang about for that. So we're outside the AGM. What time is it now? It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 hours ago, at 10 o'clock, the Shell AGM started. Straight away it was disrupted by singing, then it was disrupted by more singing, then it was disrupted by people chanting, then it was disrupted by more chanting in rounds by different parts of the building. Anyway, to cut a long story short, after 2 hours, most people in the building were asked to leave, and no shareholders left, so 2 hours of disruption action. We thought at one time, some people thought the AGM had been stopped. Some leaving. We thought the AGM had been stopped, but it turns out instead they moved to another room and they tried to carry on. And some people pointed out, even though they've been protesting, they were still allowed to cast their vote. So which made people think, well, maybe they're hoping they won't have to have another AGM because it's just impossible to carry on. So anyway, whatever's happened, this is the most astonishing piece of AGM disruption ever. There's 70 protesters inside. It went on for 3 hours. I have to give Shell management their credit. They did respond in a professional way and even had constructive conversations with protesters who went to the front of the stage and spoke to them. So it's a very British rebellion. Now the story we're going to finish on, you may have seen yesterday a senior Shell safety person resigned. Her name is Caroline Dennett. And the reason she gave was, it's her job for safety to protect the lives of people and to do no harm. She says she cannot stay working for Shell knowing how serious the climate emergency is and how damaging Shell's business plan is. And the thing that inspired her to act after all her concerns was, at the last rebellion, which was in April 2022, there was an XR action at the Shell headquarters where some brave rebels managed to get inside and were live streaming from the foyer. One managed to get onto the 4th floor and was interviewing Shell employees at their desks. Outside, there was sort of a supportive action, and one of XR's campaigns is called Tell the Truth, where they encourage people who work for highly polluting companies or fossil fuel companies and things like that to tell the truth about what's going on. And also, as part of that, I don't know if you saw, there was like a big trampoline like the fire brigade might use to encourage people to jump out of a burning building. And on it said, jump ship, if you work for Shell and you have qualms about what's going on, now's the time to leave. Well, Caroline saw this protest and it moved her. And I'm guessing if it moves one person, there are other people in Shell who realise how serious things are. And maybe in time they'll come to terms with stopping working for them because, otherwise how else can they sleep at night? So we've got Caroline's resignation video, in which she explains why she took the decision to leave Shell, and it's the most incredible thing. We can say nice things about well done, Caroline, but none of us can really appreciate what she's done. And in a few months' time, most of us probably won't even remember. Certainly no one will put a statue of her up in Parliament Square in her honour. But this is the nature of the struggle, of self-sacrifice, of people who have gone to prison, they've given up on their careers that they would like to have had through criminal records. But in the middle of a climate emergency, with the possibility of 700 million climate refugees in Africa by the end of the decade, what else can an honest person do? So thank you so much, Caroline. And now we're going to go and watch her resignation video.
My name is Caroline Dennett, and this is my resignation. I've worked with Shell for over 10 years now, empowering tens of thousands of workers to improve safety culture at their work sites, trying to keep people safe, prevent oil and gas leaks and major incidents like the Deepwater Horizon disaster in the Gulf of Mexico. But today I'm quitting because of Shell's double talk on climate. Shell's stated safety ambition is to do no harm. It's called Goal Zero, and it sounds honourable, but they are completely failing on it. They know that continued oil and gas extraction causes extreme harms to our climate, to our environment, and to people. And whatever they say, Shell is simply not winding down on fossil fuels. They're expanding with new exploration and extraction projects against the clear warnings from scientists and dismissing the huge risks from climate change. And I just can't be a part of this anymore. I know I'm privileged to be able to make this choice, and many people working in fossil fuel companies just aren't so lucky. But the fossil fuel industry, it's the past. And if you can find a way out, then please walk away while there's still time. Do it now.